Just a Rinnegan? That's not enough. I want the Tenseigan too. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 251. The Kingu Imperial Mansion was cleared, and Yuanjie and the generals occupied the office space in the Kingu area. Yuanjie flew into the air and shouted at the people below. From today onwards, Kingu will return to Sharingan. Boom. As soon as these words came out, the crowd below became irritable, and many people even threw eggs into the sky. You said go back and go back? We don't want to. The Flying Eagle language we learned and the Flying Eagle language we speak have a half-time relationship with your Sharingan. Where's the Sharingan smelly fish rotten shrimp? Go back quickly. We would rather die than accept the rule of Yuan. That's right. Your territory is so big, and you are still a small place like Kingu? Do you know what you're doing? You guys are violating this. Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger, as well as the newly arrived Hongshu Ling Lu Yuanyan, looked at the group of indignant people below with complicated eyes. Sometimes, time can really wear away a lot of things, and it can also make people forget a lot of things. The 100 million Sharingan soldiers stood there at a loss. They were very angry when they heard it, but what could be done? Yuanjie flew in the air, quietly listening to their insults, his eyes getting colder and colder. If that's the case, then go and die. If the earth remains, people do not have to stay. Hundreds of millions of Sharingan soldiers shouted excitedly, obey the instructions of the Yuan Emperor, kill, 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 kill. Resistors, leave no one. The overwhelming shouts of killing shook this small world. The Kingu people turned pale. How could they not have imagined that the other party would actually come to the real thing? Yuanjie flew as Hongshu Ling Lu Yuanyan sighed and patted him on the shoulder. The meaning was clear. Lu Yuanyan saluted and respectfully sent Emperor Yuan away. He sighed. How could it be his turn to clean up this mess again? However, Kingu is much better than Yingzhou, and it is not tricky. After solving the matter of Northern Kingu, Yuanjie returned to Sharingan through the time-space passage. Actually, 2 hours passed. He looked at his watch, and it seemed that there was not enough time to solve the matter in the southwestern Junan. Forget it, let's talk about it tomorrow. It's time to leave work. Yuanjie is as Iao Emperor, and he doesn't want to waste too much personal time dealing with national affairs. He gently pushed open the door of the dormitory, and a happy voice came from inside. Xiaoji, are you back? The little woman meets the Yuan Emperor. Yuanjie saw Yasuking and Yu Menghan talking and laughing in front of the dresser. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if he was wrong. However, his attention soon turned to Yasuking. So beautiful, this luxurious phoenix robe, worn on her body, completely sets off the perfect curves and cold temperament. How? Does it look good? Yasuking stood up and spun around twice. When Yuanjie saw this scene, he remembered the scene of accompanying her to the store to buy clothes in his previous life. At the beginning, he would only sit in the men's lounge and play with his mobile phone. Whenever Yasuking changed into a set of clothes and came out to ask him enthusiastically, he just glanced up and casually replied with a good look. Ask more, and he will be impatient. Yuanjie went over and hugged her tightly. In the past, he failed himself, and in this life, he vowed to make up for her in this life. Yu Menghan was stuffed with sudden dog food, and he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Yasuking's face was full of joy. She felt her lover's love. At this moment, she has no time to squeeze her eyebrows and mock others. She only knows that he loves her, which is enough. Yu Menghan silently retreated. She closed the door. Against the door panel, it was difficult to breathe. After the two kissed for a while, Yasuking looked at him with affection, and his eyes were full of love. Xiaoji, that, Yu Menghan seems to be interesting to you, I know. But I don't have to be responsible for every like, right? The falling flowers are intentional, but there are already small fish wandering in the flowing water, and they can't fit it. Yasuking looked at his purple eyes, and his eyes were full of sincerity. She guessed right. Unless, Yu Menghan can do something that he will never let go of for the rest of his life, and it has become his eternal regret. Otherwise, he would never have been emotional with her. But by then, it was too late. What is the use of people who cannot be resurrected after death? Yu Menghen is such a smart person, why doesn't she know? In fact, she knows better than anyone in her heart. Therefore, she wants to gamble once, even if it is to risk her own life. She believed that since Yuanjie could reincarnate the dead who had died for many years, who dared to guarantee that his eyes would not be resurrected? Chicken ceremony, close at hand. This morning, Yuanjie and Yi Suking dressed up. The makeup artist is Yu Menghen. That's right, Xiao Menghen is a versatile woman, especially talented under art appreciation. Yuanjie froze motionlessly, and now, his face and Yu Menghen's face were only a millimeter different. He could even see the tiny fuzz on her face. The two people breathed the same air, and what came out of her mouth was also the fragrant taste of roses, which was a real exhalation. The most fatal thing is the magnificent scenery after she leans down. Emperor Yuan, are you satisfied with this makeup? Yu Menghen wiped the sweat on her forehead slightly and asked with a smile. Yuanjie looked at himself in his glasses. He was shocked. Good guy. If his appearance was 100 points, then now it is 500 points. Even he was handsome by himself. Yuanjie nodded awkwardly and whispered a thank you. It's okay. Yu Menghen didn't stop much, twisted his crotch and left. When he stood up and turned around and saw Yi Suking standing there with a smile, he was even more moved. When the maid was holding a wide phoenix robe and was about to put it on for her, Yuanjie stopped it. He was going to put it on for her with his own hands. In my last life, I regretted that I couldn't put on a wedding dress for you. In this life, I feel honored that I can personally help you put on the phoenix robe. Yi Suking blushed and lowered her head to help him straighten his collar. The two looked at each other and walked out of the dormitory together. The huge square outside the Hanitun Hall gathered all the famous and surnamed officials from all over Cheyenne, and the generals above the rank of 10,000 commanders also stood solemnly in place. Standing with them are also the heads of state and foreign guests. Emperor Yuan has arrived. Greetings to Emperor Yuan. Hooray Zion. With that, a golden chariot drove in the air, pulled by 9 spirit beasts with a terrifying aura. These 9-headed spirit beasts were taken outside the domain during this time of Yuan, and this was a precious gift Li gave to his grandson. Boom, a deafening roar that shocked the foreign guests. They looked at the sky in disbelief. Even the spirit beasts pulling the cart were so fierce. How powerful should the true combat power of the Yuan dynasty be that day? Chapter 252. The 9-headed giant beast let out a heart-palpitating roar, which shocked everyone in the entire square. This group of giant beasts seems to be of an unusual level. Oh my god, it's all the strength of the top tier of the Great Evening Realm. It's unbelievable. It seems to be different from the extraterritorial spirit beasts we usually see. Aren't we all fighting in the highest gradual realm? Each giant beast has a majesty that matches its strength, and they land high in the square, not angry. Yuanjie slowly walked down from the golden chariot, attracting a cheer. After landing, he stretched out his hand to Yi Suking on the chariot, and the other party supported him with a smile and stood on the high platform together. Who is that? Is it actually worth Emperor Yuan treating her like this? You're stupid. You're the future queen. Indeed, only a woman who looks so captivating can be worthy of the Yuan Emperor. Yuanjie and Yi Suking looked at each other, and together burst out of the world of law, a woman in white clothes and white hair and white eyes, floating indifferently behind Yuanjie. Next to it, stood a humanoid giant beast in white armor, which was Yi Suking's Dharma heaven and earth. The terrifying aura spread in the square, and everyone was terrified. Gentile guests, in particular, were short of breath. I have long thought that Yuan's combat power is extraordinary, but I never thought it would be so terrifying. Among them, the woman dressed in a black and gold phoenix robe, the aura that erupted from her body was the most terrifying. Oh god. That was not the cultivation of the Great Evening Realm at all, it was above the Great Night. What? Big Night? That legendary realm? It has been 100,000 years since the Heavenly Dao seal, and many people have forgotten that there are actually other realms above the Great Late Realm. The earth-shattering war 500 years ago that the K family said before was actually wrong. The laws of the Heavenly Dao were broken. It had been 100,000 years, but the K family only lifted the seal 500 years ago and reborn to give them this illusion. In fact, the most terrible thing is that the person in power cultivates to the sky. This means that this country will be free from moral bondage, legal sanctions, and whatever it wants, and there is nothing you can do. Many foreign lords began to ponder their future strategies with Sharingan. Especially the representatives of the Great Bear Country and the Black Duck Country, they silently mourned for the Flying Eagle Country. Fortunately, their country was more attentive and did not take the initiative to provoke the powerful Yuan. Others are the same, they are glad that they came today, and those more than 60 small countries in the region actually have the audacity to dare not give face to the powerful Yuan Emperor? Wash your neck and wait for death? On the square, Sharingan Wen and Wugong knelt down and shouted, "Long live Emperor Yuan! The Gentile Lord is you. Look at me, I look at you," and the whole square is on their knees, and only they are standing. Some hesitant, some confused. I don't know how to be good. Suddenly, Emperor Yuan set his eyes on them, and the lord of a small country was so frightened that he was the first to kneel. With the first person taking the lead, everyone else went out and knelt with him. In an instant, there were only a dozen people standing in the area where foreign guests were standing. At this point, the pressure is on their side. The lord of the Black Duck Country has a gloomy face. This is a threat. If they didn't kneel, Sharingan would have a reason to attack them that day, but if they knelt, wouldn't that mean their country submits to Sharingan? He is also the head of one of the 4 great powers. How can he make such a low-voiced behavior? At this moment, they finally understood why Yuan asked the lord of the country to participate in the celebration. So it was. More than a dozen people were under great pressure, but Emperor Sharingan still had no intention of letting everyone get up. Get on your knees and wait until everyone is on their knees before getting up. Emperor Yuan looked at them like this, although he was smiling, but this smile carried a chill. His purple eyes seemed to ask, "Are you kneeling?" Manjiao Wenwu knelt down and lowered his head. His gaze quietly drifted towards the area of foreign guests. Their hearts are happy. How many years have not seen this scene? All nations bow down, reign in the world. Last time, it was the prosperous era of the Celestial Empire tens of thousands of years ago. And now, Yuan, who is only one word apart, is about to regain the glory of the Celestial Empire. Unexpectedly, the lord of the Great Bear Country knelt. He fell to his knees. The lord of the Black Duck Country was stunned. What is the situation? You don't have to. You are also the lord of one of the 4 major countries. How can you kneel? At this time, only 5 people remained who did not kneel. A small country owner secretly pulled the Black Duck Country lord's trouser leg and persuaded him, "Kneel down quickly. Kneeling will not drop a piece of meat anyway. You see that the Big Bear Country of people is kneeling. The lord of the Black Duck Country is very entangled. He doesn't know how to be good." In this way, there was a stalemate for 5 minutes, and under great pressure, he finally couldn't hold on. His legs went limp, and he plopped down on his knees. At this time, there were still 3 small country lords, who were vassals of the Flying Eagle Country. "You guys, don't kneel," Yuanjie's faint voice echoed in the square. The 3 said angrily, "Why kneel you? What are you, Sharingan? Also worthy of us kneeling? Not kneeling, huh? Then die." Poof, Kaguya behind Yuanjie, staring at them coldly, grew bone spurs from behind, and killed them silently through Huinkwan Birayasaka at a distance. Kill the ashes together. The lord of the country who was insulted just now turned his body into stone powder and disappeared into this heaven and earth. The stone powder drifted away with the wind and stuck to the face of the lord of the Black Duck Country. He sweated coldly. Fortunately he endured the humiliation and burden, otherwise, it would be him who died. Of the remaining 2, one of them was so frightened that he immediately knelt down. There was another person, who looked like a puppet with dull eyes. Yuanji's eyes narrowed, and his white eyes found that behind the country lord, there were several very subtle spiritual power lines, and if you didn't look seriously, it was really difficult to detect. He looked all the way through the spiritual power line and finally found the source. It turned out to be someone from the Flying Eagle Country, but I didn't expect them to hide in a corner of Sharingan. Puppeteer, Yuanjie was stunned. However, the experts of the Flying Eagle Country also sensed that someone was spying, and they left. Yuanjie arranged for Pain Wudao to follow quietly and solve them one by one later. Since it is a puppet, there is no need for mercy among his subordinates. The doppelganger of the wheel tomb side hell slashed towards the spiritual power line behind the person. The puppet fell straight towards the back of the person in front of it, and just smashed into the Black Duck Country lord. A dull face, eyes wide, met him. He was taken aback, but did not dare to act rashly. At this point, everyone in the entire square knelt down. The Manchu dynasty Wenwu shouted, "Long live the Yuan Emperor." Chapter 253. Damn it! The departing Flying Eagle country expert scolded. Among the five, there was an Eastern face that looked out of place with a group of blonde hair and blue eyes. Don't worry, I still have a backhand. Suddenly, there was a rapid dripping sound in the square. That puppet was actually about to blow himself up just now? In an instant, in the nearby Yuanjie, she sensed the danger in advance, and quickly ran to the foreign guest area with her skirt. She uses a special device to absorb the humanoid puppet, but on the way to adsorption, an explosion has already occurred. She had to pounce and block the aftermath of the explosion with her body. Bang! The self-detonation was like a squib, and there was no sound except for the explosion of a rose petal. Seeing this, Yuanjie quickly pulled Yuanjie into the Shinwei space. Then he followed, and he asked eagerly, "Are you alright?" "No, it's okay." Yuanjie raised a smile. "Don't forget, what kind of physique am I?" After speaking, she stood up directly. However, although her body is not bad, her clothes are not like this. Her front chest clothing was blown up. Yuanjie turned around awkwardly, as if he saw a picture that he shouldn't see. Yuanjie then realized that she covered it shyly, and her face blushed as if she was about to wring out the water. Do you have any clothes?" Yuanjie turned his back to her. "Forgot to bring it." Yuanjie was speechless, so he had to find the Zio robe he wore before from the Shinwei space, and handed it to her with his eyes closed. "But he has white eyes, is it useful to close his eyes?" Yuanjie saw that he closed his eyes, and she generously let go of her hand and took it without concealment. "I'll go out first, you stay here for a while." Yuanjie's figure reappeared outside, and Yi Suking asked nervously, "Menghan, is she okay?" The explosion just now didn't seem to have much power, but she knew that if left unplaced, the entire square would be blown up, and the power was comparable to a nuclear bomb. Fortunately, it was Yuanjie who made a move, and even she couldn't help it just now. Even if it can be stopped, it is not as perfect as Yuanjie's doing, and it will have to die somewhat. If there are casualties, then this time on the chicken ceremony, it will be a big joke. Her gaze was grim. Who the hell dared to destroy her beloved man, such an important moment in her life? At the same time, she rose up grateful to Yuanjie and gradually developed a good impression of this girl. Yuanjie tried hard to put aside the beautiful scene just now, but the more he wanted to forget, the more profound and lingering. What a perfect shape and size. Men are visual animals, and when he first sees them, he is shocked. Yi Suking gently pulled his hand, so that he was hot and calmed down a little. When the accident just now occurred, Marshal Li immediately arranged for the generals to strengthen the guard. The foreign guests were palpitating, and they were all scared and stupid just now. Fortunately, Tianyuan's side handled it without leakage. Even if it leaked a little, their little lives were definitely not guaranteed. The foreign guests had a new understanding of Tianyuan's combat power. The celebration continued and order was restored. It was as if what had just happened was just a small episode. The program flow has entered the final stage. Everyone entered the Rinnegan Hall, and the foreign guests were once again stunned by the majestic and magnificent hall. The entire Rinnegan Hall, covering an area of 500,000 square meters, is larger than the territory of ordinary families, and even larger than the country of some small masters present, which is particularly outrageous. The decoration style in the hall is antique and very similar to the national style of Sharingan, which fully reflects the rich cultural heritage of Sharingan. Yuanjie was in the hall and arranged a buffet mode. Food and delicacies, good wine and good food hospitality, take what you want to eat. He temporarily hired millions of outstanding chefs from all over Tianyuan to make food specifically for this celebration. However, the food is all the 10 major cuisines of Sharingan, and there is no foreign variety. Come to me, you have to eat mine, don't think that I specially hosted you and made your country's food. Yuanjie and Yi Suking carried wine glasses and walked towards the heavy ministers of the dynasty. Hard work, he toasted Shangshu of the Ministry of Rites. Shangshu of the Ministry of Rites was frightened, and the emperor toasted himself. He quickly took a glass of wine from the maid beside him and lowered it low. It is Wei Chen's honor to share the worries of Emperor Yuan. Yuanjie laughed, patted him on the shoulder, and walked away with Yi Suking. When he came to Marshal Li, he whispered a word, send people to surround Sharingan, and not a single fly will be let go. Marshal Li's gaze was cold, and he nodded solemnly. He probably guessed that Emperor Yuan probably knew who caused the explosion just now, and it was in Sharingan. In fact, there is no need to order, he has already arranged heavy guards, Since the Yuan Emperor mentioned it again, then there is no need for their military attachés to continue to stay in the Rinnegan Hall. All of them will be given to me to go out and guard. When he walked in front of the two prime ministers, Zhongshu ordered Lu Yuanyin and Shongshu Ling Changsenming to bow respectfully. Meet Emperor Yuan and Empress. Yi Suking was very happy when she heard it. She had come to the celebration for so long, and it was the first time she heard this call. Yuanjie nodded with a smile. How far Yuan can go in the future depends on the two of you. Zhongshu Ling Monkshuling was terrified, and they shouted that they did not dare to act. Yuanjie knows in his heart that when opening up territory in the future, regional stability will not rely on force, but on cultural domination, and it can be said that these two old men in the future will have a heavy burden on them. After touring a round of Manchu dynasty culture and martial arts, Yuanjie walked to the area of foreign guests. Many small country lords saluted one after another, hail to the Yuan Emperor, and handed over his own meager meaning. Yuanjie was expressionless and arranged for the maid to accept it one by one. If there is a more valuable one, he will look at it twice. Many country owners are very sensible and prepare generous gifts, but in Yuanjie's opinion, no matter how heavy the gift, is there a heavy territory? If they know each other a little, they should immediately belong to Yuan, instead of pulling these things to be without. Therefore, Yuanjie's face along the way was very flat. When he walked in front of the Great Bear Country Lord, the other party hugged him heavily. Emperor Yuan, Sharingan and Big Bear have been good brothers for 100,000 years, and the friendship between the two countries has endured. Yuanjie moved his finger silently, and the maid behind him immediately noticed, and accidentally spilled the wine on the Lord of the Great Bear Country. Yuanjie scolded, "How can you be so careless?" The Great Bear Country Lord's face changed, and he quickly recovered as before, and he waved his hand and said, "It's okay, it's not a big problem, however, the spoiled clothes are very uncomfortable to wear, throw them away, and I'll give you a new set." The Great Bear Country Lord was stunned. How could he not hear the other party's meaning? That's right, Big Bear and Yuan have been friendly on the surface, but in fact, secretly, Big Bear Country often sends people to the border to burn, kill and loot. Between the two countries, like this suit of clothes, is contaminated. The Lord of the Great Bear Country sneered, "You can make do with it, and you can wear it." Yuanjie smiled, "But I'm a person, I don't like to make do with it." The Great Bear Country Lord's face changed. After Yuanjie patted him on the shoulder, he left with Yi Suking. The smile of the Great Bear Country Lord froze on his face, and he didn't know what expression to make. He thought about it and left the Rinnegan Hall directly. He wanted to go back quickly and prepare for it. Yuanjie came to the corner and found the Lord of the Black Duck Country hiding there. The Lord of the Black Duck Kingdom said in a non-standard Yuan dialect, "Emperor Yuan is young and promising. Congratulations." Yuanjie waved his hand. "Where and where? I really like the scenery of the Black Duck Country. When will you take me to enjoy it?" The Lord of the Black Duck Country was shocked and said with a dry smile, "The Black Duck homeland is almost all desert, and it is not as big as the land of Sharingan. So, you have an excuse to invade our western islands? Broken, is it so direct?" The Lord of the Black Duck Country didn't know how to answer. Yuanjie put his arm around the other party's shoulder and said, "I heard that you Black Duck like our Sharingan's excellent genes very much. In the past 100 years, the Black Duck Country has been secretly harassing the Yuan border, specifically robbing women and bringing them back to the Black Duck Country. As for what it does, everyone who understands it understands. It's just that the group of women who were robbed are not living a human life at all, and life is better than death." Not to be outdone, the Black Duck Country Lord said to Yuanjie with a cold face, "I don't quite understand what you mean." "I mean very simply, you'll understand later." After some threats, the face of the Lord of the Black Duck Country became even darker. In the past, the reason why he dared to do this was because the previous dynasty turned a blind eye and did not care. And now, what does this newly succeeded Yuan Emperor mean? With today's sword, do you settle the accounts of the previous dynasty? What kind of truth is this? I was dealing with a former dynasty, and since your change of dynasty, I have been very restrained before I could not understand my temperament. Enemy of our Black Duck Country. You will regret it." He shouted at Yuanjie, who was walking away. This roar alarmed the entire Rinnegan Hall, and many guards drew their knives one after another. The other foreign visitors were stunned. How could anyone be so iron-headed? Have they all seen Yuan's top combat power, and dare to offend each other? Yuanjie shook his head and walked away with a smile. It's just that at this time, there is an extra hole in the chest of the Lord of the Black Duck Country. Ugh! The foreign guests in the Rinnegan Hall fell into panic. Who would have thought that Emperor Sharingan would be so bold and dare to openly commit murder? The other party is also the head of a country, right? And it is also the Black Duck Country, one of the four great powers. The other representatives of the Black Duck Country hurriedly supported the country lord, and they looked angrily at Yuanjie's back. Soon, Tianyuan's guards gathered near them and surrounded several people. The representative of the Black Duck Country cursed a string of dirty words that no one understood, and was dragged out by the Tianyuan guards. The movement on the side frightened the lord of the Great Bear Country. Fortunately, he whispered just now, otherwise he would have died himself. I can't imagine that this Sharingan emperor is so ruthless at a young age. His face was gloomy. However, you think our Great Bear Kingdom is afraid of you? How to say, the Great Bear Country is one of the four major countries, and you Sharingan provoke the other three countries at once. The contradiction on the side of the Flying Eagle Country has not yet been resolved, so it is really rational to say cruel things to the Great Bear Country and the Black Duck Country? Many foreign guests rose in their hearts with disdain. Sure enough, they were young and vigorous, young and frivolous, and they did things without thinking. I don't really think that with the power of Yuan and one country, I can fight the three-nation alliance army, right? No way. Emperor Sharingan's rooster ceremony ended in an unpleasant atmosphere. It is the foreign guests who are unpleasant. Anyway, the Sharingan Manchu dynasty is very pleasant. They never thought that Emperor Yuan would personally kill the lord of the Black Duck Country at the celebration. It can't be said that he killed him, right? Who saw Emperor Yuan make a move? Who saw it? Are you sure it wasn't the other party who died violently? At that time, the Yuan emperor was far away, 100 meters away from the Black Duck Country lord. How could he kill people? You must have misunderstood. Please don't put the pot on our Sharingan's head. If you insist on buckling, then you can only fight, just to my liking. On the other side, the Sharingan city gate. What? You said don't let us go? What do you mean by Sharingan? The face of the Great Bear Country lord changed slightly. Is this a closed door and beating a dog? I didn't expect that this time the chicken ceremony was actually a banquet. I knew that I wouldn't come, and if I didn't come, I could be safer, and I always had to fight anyway. In the ceremony, the perpetrator who planted the bomb has not been found, and we can't let anyone leave. The Tianyuan soldier replied with a solemn expression. Then you suspect that we put it on? Snap! Marshal Li clapped and walked over with a smile. I didn't expect that someone wouldn't fight and take it down for me. The delegation of the Great Bear Country is stupid. How can there be such a shameless person? How can there be such a hat-covering people? The Great Bear Country lord hurriedly stepped forward and explained, it's all a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding. The chief was furious. Misunderstanding? Marshal Li touched his chin and fell into deep thought. Forget it. Is it a misunderstanding? See you in prison. The Great Bear Country brought 3 top-level combat powers of the Great Evening Realm this time, and they all showed their weapons. Put it down. Lord of the country. I'll let you go. Don't you understand? The Great Bear Country lord shouted with a cold face. If you don't do it, there's a glimmer of life, and once you do it, it will definitely be dead without a corpse. Marshal Li looked at the delegation of the Great Bear Country who was taken away regretfully, but unfortunately, he couldn't wait for the other party to do it. In this way, the reason for the war was very sufficient. But he didn't think that a real war need a reason. I see that you are not happy, or I fancy something from you. Let's do it first. The so-called success and defeat, history books have always been written by the victors. What Yuanjie did today is to tear his face. It is best to let the 3 countries go up together and destroy together, so as not to go to the door to fight every family. As for small countries, large countries have been conquered, and they dare not obey? After returning to the palace, Yuanjie released Yu Menghun from the Shenhui space. At this time, Yu Menghun raised the collar of Zio's robe high, covering half of his red little face. Emperor Yuan, thank you. I'll wash my clothes and return them to you when I get home. Yuanjie waved his hand and said, no need, give it to you. Now his identity is the Sharingan Emperor, and he is no longer the one who was afraid of the light at the beginning. Yuanjie doesn't like nostalgia, because if he is nostalgic, he will think of a lot of things. Yu Menghun nodded, and she ran away with Zio's robe, for fear of staining the outfit. I don't know why, when Yuanjie saw her again, he always wanted to open his eyes and observe. He was captivated by her rose mark there and could not forget it for a long time. When he walked back to the dormitory, he met Li Tiansha. Li Tiansha twisted and pinched and said to him, "Brother Ji, I may be away for a while." Yuanjie was stunned. "Why?" Because I found that there seemed to be a chance for me to find something outside the domain." Li Tiansha said that she was lying for the first time in her life. The reason for leaving was that Yu Menghan taught her to do this and was part of the plan. Only when she took the initiative to leave Yuanjie would Yuanjie miss her, and increase her weight in his heart. Only in this way will Yi Suking temporarily feel that he has won. When they are married, she will find that things are not as simple as she imagined. At that time, maybe her mentality will slowly change and gradually accept them. After Yuanjie was silent for a while, he sighed after seeing Li Tiansha's firm eyes. "When do you leave?" "Tomorrow. The academy organizes training in the special cracks of the border." "Good." Yuanjie plans to arrange a prison doppelganger to secretly protect her. Li Tiansha is an independent girl, he does not want to, and she does not want to be a caged bird. She is an F-class physique, and she still has a long way to go. If he forcibly kept her by his side, she would be unhappy. After the two hugged for a while, Yuanjie witnessed her silhouette leave. No one would have thought that after Li Tiansha left this time, he would really be reborn, as she said, and activate the true bloodline. Completely transformed into a completely blue-haired girl, a strong comeback. Chapter 254. After the chicken boarding ceremony, the 5 alpha powerhouses of the Flying Eagle country rushed to the city gate, and they couldn't imagine that they really let them run. Brother Ji was saying goodbye to Li Tiansha at that time, and he didn't have time to care. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the same day, Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger came over to plead guilty. Yuanjie's mood was not very good, and he waved his hand and said, "Okay, I know, I can run the 7th year of junior high school, but I can't run 15. Marshal Li and the two saw that Emperor Yuan's face was wrong, and they knelt down and asked for a reduction. Brother Ji is speechless. "Why is this ancient feudal thinking so rigid?" I said it's okay, and it's still plowing here. "Are you doing this to beg you to get up?" "Don't dare." Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger immediately got up. "I want to retreat for 1 to 2 weeks, and if the other 3 countries declare war on Sharingan later, you can fight directly. If you can't fight, remember to retreat in time," Yuanjie said solemnly to the two of them. "The life of every soldier is precious, and I would rather you be defeated than shroud mag." Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger were in awe, and they nodded seriously. "If you encounter a difficult enemy, you can enter the palace to find Yi Suking. There are so many masters in the palace. When the time comes, I will ask her to arrange someone to support you. Obey the instructions of Emperor Yuan. You guys call Shuang-Shuling and Hong-Shuling over." Yuanjie signaled that the two could go. Marshal Li and the two stooped and left the imperial study. After a while, Shuang-Shuling Chang Sen-ming and Shuang-Shuling Lu Yongnian came to the door of the imperial study room, and the maid bowed to report. "Let them in." "Yes." The maid opened the door and welcomed 2 gray-haired old men in. "Don't stand, sit." The 2 old men sat solemnly on the sofa. Their postures were very upright. Yuanjie walked over, boiled a pot of boiling water, and was about to make tea, but was snatched by Lu Yongnian. He sneered, "Emperor Yuan, let me come, while enjoying tea." Yuanjie said his plan to close his door. "After entering the Shenhui space, I really didn't know anything about the outside world. In the coming period, state affairs will bother the 2 prime ministers." Lu Yongnian and Chang Sen-ming were shocked. They just wanted to persuade, but they remembered that Emperor Yuan was not only an emperor, but also a unique cultivator. The stronger the Yuan emperor, the greater the Sharingan dynasty say in the world. If there's anything important that cannot be decided, you can go to the palace to find Yi Suking. Her words are equal to my words. Women's participation in politics, but it is not a big deal. But they couldn't find an excuse to refuse. After all, Emperor Yuan was alone, his relatives were long gone, and there were no heirs. That mysterious supreme emperor didn't know where to play. Chang Sen-ming quickly got up and saluted. "Please relax, Emperor Yuan. The old minister will definitely handle it well. You can rest assured and retreat. What they think is, try to deal with it yourself. If you can't find Yi Suking, you won't look for it." Yuanjie nodded, and finally, he found Xiaonan. "Xiaonan, I'm going to retreat for a while. Trouble you to follow Li Tiansha all the way. Be sure to protect her safety. When I get out of customs, I will arrange for the Wheel Tomb prison doppelganger to take over your shift." Xiaonan was stunned. Sister Shallow is gone. Yuanjie nodded heavily. Xiaonan frowned and said dissatisfiedly, brother, it's not me who said you really can't tell the difference. Are you just driving the Shallow away for the sake of that woman? It's not that I drove her away, she wants to become stronger, so she followed the academy army to practice outside the domain. Xiaonan glanced at him lightly. Brother, why did Shallow leave? Don't you know? What did that woman do to her? Don't you have points in your heart? Yuanjie was speechless. He knew that he owed that strong girl too much. But the best solution now is to reverse Yisuking's stubbornness. He has been a human in 2 lifetimes, and he has only really been in love once, and he doesn't know how to do it at all, so as not to hurt the palm of his hand. He lived very tired during this time, not only to comfort Li Tiansha immediately after she was angry, but also to calm the emotions of another woman at night, constantly saying shallow good things, so that Yisuking would not embarrass her. Who can tell him what exactly is the right thing to do? Brother, you really disappointed me so much? Xiaonan shook his head and left. Yuanjie stood in place for a long time. When he returned to the dormitory, he found Yisuking and Yu Menghan talking and laughing and eating dessert. When did the relationship between these 2 women become so good? Yuanjie still remembers that when he went to Yu's house in the second day of junior high school, the 2 of them still wiped guns and misfired. I didn't expect to see me for a few days, and I actually became a girlfriend who talked about everything, which is really like a drama. When Yu Menghan saw Yuanjie coming, she quickly got up and saluted. The little woman sees Emperor Yuan. You guys are? Yisuking replied with a smile. Sister Menghan brought a lot of desserts. Do you want to try them? Yo, I also called my sister. It seems that the relationship is not ordinary. Yuanjie admired Yu Menghan a little for this social cow. It seems that he can talk to anyone, and he can be a sister with anyone. He couldn't help but look at it twice, and unconsciously automatically opened his eyes. Accidentally glanced at the rose tattoo there again. On the undulating peaks rose a delicate rose, with beautiful petals and delicate stamens, which makes people want to pick it. Yuanjie quickly put aside his distractions. He was confused. How could he be like he was poisoned, and he always loved to peep at people's tattoos? Su Qing, I'm going to retreat for a while next. Are you going to impact the phaseless realm? Yisuking walked over with a concerned look, took his hand and asked. Otherwise, I'll take you to my place to cultivate. You can avoid the constraints of the heavenly Dao? Yuanjie touched her face and said, no, I can also use it in my Shenwei space. Hearing the Shenwei space, Yu Menghan was stunned. She entered that space for the first time yesterday, and she felt that the shackles of cultivation on her body at that time were loosened. Doesn't that mean she also has a chance to break through to the phaseless realm? Yu Menghan was 3 years older than Yuanjie, and she broke through to the great evening realm when she was 20 years old, entered the palace alone, and took the head godhead at that time as her rite of passage. Now she is 23 years old, and in 3 years, she has been stuck in the 9th order of the great evening realm for a long time. She felt that her comprehension of the next realm had long been clear, but there was no way to break through. Yisuking saw Yu Menghan looking in deep thought. She ran over and took the other party's small hand and said, Sister Menghan, or I will take you to my otherworldly castle, where you can break through. Yu Menghan's eyes lit up. Really? Then thank you, sister. Actually, she thought that she could enter the Shenwei space to cultivate with Yuanjie, but she didn't dare to say it, so it was too obvious. Before entering the Shenwei space, Yuanjie handed Yisuking a wooden card. This is a wooden sign to contact my grandfather. If there is any danger, crush it. No matter how far away, my grandfather will arrive immediately. Yisuking smiled. I think I shouldn't be able to use it. Chapter 255. Li Tiansha is gone. It wasn't until the 3rd day of Yuanjie's retreat in the Shenwei space that Yisuking realized it later. Gone. Yuanjie should have known, but did not tell her. Yisuking's heart was a little unpleasant. It is not that he is dissatisfied with Yuanjie's behavior of not saying anything, but that Li Tiansha was forced away by her. Although Yu Menghan had given her ideas before, she did not do so. She felt that it would be somewhat immoral to do so. Yisuking disdained to use this method. She knew that Yuanjie loved her, but she would not stupidly use this love to do something that disgusted Yuanjie and consume his patience. Therefore, when the Chinese New Year's Eve passed, Yuanjie solemnly told her not to hurt Li Tiansha anymore. She converged a lot. But now, Li Tiansha said goodbye. She knew that she had part of the reason, which made her feel uncomfortable. She was reflecting, had she done too much before? She knew that what she had done before had forced Li Tiansha away and had hurt Brother Ji, and she was sensitive to the change in his mood. All she cared about was him, and she didn't want to make him unhappy. Today, it was the 5th day of cultivation. Yuanjie sat quietly in the Shinwei space, meditating and cultivating with his eyes closed. If the Great Evening Realm is to cleanse the impurities in the spiritual power pool, then the phaseless realm is to compress the spiritual power. Since upgrading to the Great Evening Realm, Yuanjie found that the spiritual power of the spiritual power pool was no longer liquid, but gradually turned into a solid state. And what to do to break through the phaseless realm is to solidify the remaining spiritual power that has not been solidified, without leaving a trace of liquid. It's a boring process. Fortunately, Yuanjie is a person who can endure loneliness. Unexpectedly, today, Yu Menghen broke through before Yuanjie. A refreshing floral fragrance filled the entire otherworldly castle. Even the plants in the castle grew faster. Yi Suking was still outside, and her return to the otherworldly castle was a frequency once a day. Yu Menghen looked at the 10,000 square meter spiritual power pool in her body, and she suddenly found that she had learned a new skill. Green fat, red thin. She tried to release it, and in an instant, wisps of floral fragrance visible to the naked eye emanated from her body, spreading outward, but it was not clear how large the scope was. In her mind, the effect of this technique appeared: green fat, red thin. When released on your own teammates, enhance your cultivation power, and after the enemy inhales the fragrance of flowers, it can reduce the cultivation of up to one large realm, double the positive effect on men and double the negative effect on women. Auxiliary skills. Yu Menghen shook his head helplessly. His physique is an auxiliary life. I don't know when he can learn an attack skill. At this time, Yi Suking just came to the castle. She inhaled a wisp of flower fragrance, but found that her cultivation had fallen to the 5th order of the Great Evening Realm. She was flabbergasted. Instantly panicked. Sister, are you coming? Yi Suking said angrily. Sister Menghen, you honestly explain, is it a ghost you did? Yu Menghen was stunned, and when she checked the other party's cultivation, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Now is when Yi Suking is weakest. If she does it, she can definitely kill the other party without knowing it, because this is the other world. As long as her body is thrown out of the void, who can find it? However, Yu Menghen suppressed her impulse. Reason told her that she couldn't do that. These days of getting along, she feels that Yi Suking's nature is not bad, but she can't accept the system of this world for a while. As a woman, she can understand each other's thoughts very well, and if it is her, she may do it even more extreme than others. Yu Menghen even felt that Yi Suking was a little pitiful. She is like an outlier out of place, stubbornly rebelling against the whole world alone, and even the people she loves the most are not really on her side. Although she likes to laugh, Yu Menghen knows that her heart is actually very bitter and lonely. No one understood her behavior, and no one felt that she was disgusting to find trouble. Is it wrong that she just wants to fight for the life she wants? Unfortunately, this struggle is doomed to be futile. Because this world, unlike her previous life, has many things that are different, including people. So, Yu Menghen withdrew the fragrance of flowers, and Yi Suking's cultivation slowly recovered. It scared me to death. I thought I had cultivated for nothing. Yi Suking patted her chest and said nervously, Sister, is this a skill that you have advanced to the phaseless realm? Yu Menghen narrowed her eyes and nodded with a smile. Yes, what do you think? Awesome, right? Yi Suking was silent. She knew that she was actually very dangerous just now, but if the other party had a trace of bad intentions, she would once again become Yuanjie's regret. Fortunately, Yu Menghen did not move. She looked deeply at the other party. At this point, her defensive heart for Yu Menghen slowly collapsed, and she began to make this friend sincerely. If Xiaoji wants to take a concubine, Yu Menghen is not impossible, at least better than Li Tiansha. When this thought came to Yi Suking's heart, she was shocked. What about the monogamy you've always adhered to? How could it collapse first? And all these psychological changes in her are actually in Yu Menghen's grasp. On the 6th day of Yuanjie's cultivation, he suddenly opened his eyes. I saw his left eye, and his pupil turned a dazzling white, distinguishing it from the white of the eye next to him. On the iris around the pupils, there are insignificant runes flickering, which you really can't see if you don't look closely. Strangely, the cornea in the middle still remains black, which looks a little weird. The Eye of Reincarnation, it's done. Yuanjie broke through to the phaseless realm, and finally no longer the white eye end stage of the Pit Father, but directly evolved into the reincarnation ending. Congratulations to the host for upgrading to the phaseless realm. The white eye has evolved into a reincarnation eye, and the Eye of Reincarnation has increased by 1 hook jade, currently 4 hook jade. Seeking Deo Jade has increased to 12. New skills of the Reincarnation Eye have been activated: Psychic Immortal Colossus, Silver Wheel Rebirth Explosion, Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion, Reincarnation Eye Exclusive Pupil Technique activated, Subichiri. That's it. Yuanjie carefully looked at it several times and found that it was really gone. Unexpectedly, upgrading to the phaseless realm is far from surprising to the Big Evening realm. Maybe it's because there's a lack of expectation. Now that he has completed the evolution of his eyes, how he can grow in the next realm is actually not very important. Yuanjie curiously clicked on the skill introduction of the exclusive pupil technique of the Reincarnation Eye. Subichika, what effect is the pupil technique? Chapter 256. Subitamoya, when activated, when used against an enemy, you can petrify or sink the opponent into a swamp, and plunder a small part of their cultivation, depending on the opponent's cultivation. P.S. Subichira, a certain country sand-boiling god, gender female, the god who represents the earth. I searched for it, and it seems that the book of Sister Curly's Debel Kamui also writes about Subichiru, but it's not Itomi, but the character, so it's not a crash. Petrified, Yuanjie was stunned. I actually evolved into Medusa? No, there are 2 skill forms, which should be direct petrification lower than their own cultivation, and those higher than their own cultivation are deep in the swamp. As for what is the effect of being trapped in the swamp, the probability is to slow down the other party. Yuanjie also thought that the exclusive pupil technique of the Reincarnation Eye should be related to recovery, for example, to resurrect the dying person in an instant full state. Unfortunately not. The exclusive pupil technique of the Eye of Reincarnation is the Great Aizu, which symbolizes destruction and destruction. The exclusive pupil technique of the Reincarnation Eye is Subichira, which is also destruction, but in a different form. He sighed. As an old otaku who has played games for many years in his previous life, especially in MMORPG games, he knows that in a team, it is indispensable to support the profession. He originally thought that he could make an all-round profession that could milk and fight. Unexpectedly, he was born with an output life, and there was no auxiliary skill. Where to find a top assistant? Yuanjie thought of Yu Menghan, and then shook her head. Her physique is a little special. As long as she stands at the front, any attack will turn into rose petals. In fact, it is more like a tea, not an Annie. The women around him, Yi Suking, Li Tiansha, and Zionan, were all hurtful. If you are playing a LoL game, Yuanjie, who has many displacements and comes with its own control, and does good damage, is the best candidate for fighting wild. Yi Suking is as Hongdan mage, and Li Tiansha has infinite strength, so he is the best candidate for the list. As for Zionan, now there is a lack of assistance. Yuanjie had to think about this, and he heard his grandfather say that the laws of Heaven's Dao were about to be restored, and then when the time came, the Hidden Gate would be born. At present, I don't know what kind of force the Hidden Gate is, Yuanjie thought to himself. Most likely it will be the remaining 12 guardian families from before. It is not clear whether it is friend or foe. The more Yuanjie thought about it, the more confused his heart became, and he simply didn't want to. If there is any problem, I will talk about it. Only by making yourself strong can you be invincible without fear of any enemy. With this in mind, he left the Kamui space. During the week of his cultivation, the outside world hadn't actually changed much. Yuanjie came to the Imperial Study Room, and the maid shouted in surprise, "Emperor Yuan, you are out of customs." You call Marshal Li over. At this time, Zizishuang suddenly appeared behind him, and she frowned. How did you break through? In this heaven and earth cage, it is impossible for anyone to break through to the Great Night. Yuanjie glanced at her. Rare and strange, can alien space avoid the constraints of heaven and earth? Alien space, Zizishuang muttered. She suddenly thought of something, and spoke. Otherwise, you put me in a different space. Don't let me come out if there is nothing to do. I may be able to recover some cultivation. Yes, Yuanjie patted his head. Why didn't he think of this before? Grandpa is a reincarnated body of dirt and earth, and he is an undead soul himself, so the restraints of heaven and earth cannot affect his cultivation. But Zizishuang is different. She is still alive. She is a living person, and she will definitely be forcibly weakened by the laws of heaven. If you say so, the 3 ancestors of the Emperor, the 3 coffins they are lying on, should also be in their own realm. They burned cultivation to sustain their lives for more than 100,000 years. A special vortex appeared, and Zizishuang was included in the Shenhui space. She looked at the world curiously. There was air to breathe, but there was no spiritual power flowing. In other words, her cultivation should not be able to recover, and she will be frozen in the realm of returning to the mortal realm. Marshal Li came quickly, and when he knew that Emperor Yuan was out of customs, he was overjoyed. The backbone of the main heart returned. Meet Emperor Yuan, he saluted respectfully, and then secretly observed Yuanjie's cultivation. Good guy, can't actually probe out? Doesn't that mean? That's right, I broke through to the top of the big night, no phase. Yuanjie took the initiative to answer the doubts in his heart. Marshal Li's eyes lit up, and he couldn't imagine that Emperor Yuan could actually break through successfully in the sealed cultivation, and he was really not an ordinary person. By the way, I looked for you for 2 things. First thing, I want to ask you, has anything big happened recently? Marshal Li threw up his hand. There is one piece. At present, the Black Duck country has issued a problem with the death of the country lord in the Hanun Hall, and asked us to give an explanation and make compensation, otherwise. How else? Otherwise declare war, Yuanjie sneered. Then let them declare war. Who have Wishianun been afraid of, now that he is already phaseless? Attacking a small Black Duck country is not as simple as bullying children. Only the Black Duck Kingdom declared war? What about Big Bear and Flying Eagle? Marshal Li shook his head and said, they were calm and did not declare war. Yuanjie narrowed his eyes and said lightly, then you go and force them to declare war, understand, return the damage they had caused to the land of Yuan in the past. No, it should be hardened. Marshal Li's expression was shocked, just what he wanted. In the past, he was not sure of 1 dozen or 3, but now, Emperor Yuan has broken through to the top of the night, and he has confidence in his heart. That is to say, with the words of the Queen, Tianyuan country has 2 big knights. Not to mention fighting the 3 countries, it's no problem to fight 10. The real war will not be with you to the nonsense that those cultivators cannot participate in the war. In this world, determining the strength of a country is never based on how developed your technology is or how well trained your soldiers are, but on the cultivators that this country has and how powerful their combat power is. Marshal Li bowed, turned around and wanted to leave. He couldn't wait. The prosperous era of the Celestial Empire tens of thousands of years ago will now be revived in Tianyuan. Wait a minute, didn't I say there is a second thing? Marshal Li was stopped by the shout, and he stopped in embarrassment. Emperor Yuan, please say. The old minister was confused for a while. Yuanjie didn't care. He walked in front of the other party and solemnly patted Marshal Li's shoulder. I remember, you seem to have been stuck in the 9th order of the Great Evening Realm for a long time, right? Marshal Li chuckled in his heart, didn't he? Go, gather all the generals of the 9th order of the Great Evening Realm under your command, Ben Wang, help them break through, above the night. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257. Marshal Li was pleasantly surprised. Don't talk about him. Everyone who was stuck in the 9th order of the Great Evening Realm had been waiting for this day for a long time. After sending Marshal Li away, Yuanjie immediately found Li Qing and said the same thing to him. When Li Qing saw Yasuking's breakthrough, he probably guessed it. Is Emperor Yuan going to take us to another dimension? Yuanjie was stunned. How do you know? Guess. Li Qing shrugged and smiled, and then said, okay, then I'll go back and let the powerhouses of the academy all prepare and listen to Emperor Yuan's arrangements at any time. Yuanjie nodded. He walked out of the imperial study with Li Qing, but he didn't expect to bump into Yasuking and Yu Menghan, who came back from the otherworldly castle. Yasuking felt that the aura on his body had changed, and the most obvious feature was that his left eye was no longer the same purple Yuan eye as his right eye, but an eye that emitted a faint white light. There is a saying, one side is white and purple. It looks quite strange. But no one cares. There are more cultivators in this world than Yuanjie's strange people. She rushed over and hugged him tightly, and said in surprise, congratulations, successful promotion without phase. Yuanjie rubbed her hair and said dotingly, If it weren't for your reminder, I wouldn't know that I could break through by running to the other space. Yusuking answered obediently, resting her head on his chest, and closed her eyes with a look of enjoyment. She hadn't seen her lover in a week, and she had a lot to say to him. After Li Qing saw this scene, he retreated in embarrassment. Yu Menghan was wearing a faint smile. In fact, she really wanted to pounce and tell him personally that I had also improved. Her liking for Yuanjie is gradual. From the beginning, after the first meeting between Yuanjie and Li Tiansha to the supermarket under the Yu family, she paid attention to him intentionally or unintentionally. In fact, it was under her mother's arrangement that she came into contact with him. Then when Xiao organized Ningning, she had real contact with the other party for the first time, and from then on, she gradually became interested in this man. As the contact became longer and longer, she found that Yuanjie's figure appeared in her dreams at all times. It is said that since ancient times, beautiful women love heroes, and Yu Menghan, as a top physique Xianjiao, has been a proud woman from the beginning. However, she was conquered by Yuanjie's power. Not only his appearance, strength, but also his personality, charm and behavior. I don't know when it started, and the urge to not marry him in this life arose. No one will believe that the heavenly goddesses who are admired by everyone will one day have a preferred man. In order to be able to stay with him, she was willing to be a concubine. Yuanjie noticed Yu Menghan at this time and saw that the other party's cultivation was exactly the same as himself. You broke through too. Yes, congratulations, Toxie. The conversation between the two came to an abrupt end, and the current relationship is nothing more. Do you want me to summon the masters of the family to come over? Yu Menghan took the initiative to mention. Yuanjie thought for a while, and said, so be it. You first find the top-level experts of the Huangfu family and the Yu family, and the Wang family doesn't need to be notified. Yu Menghan covered his mouth and smiled. It's useless to notify. Their Wang family doesn't have a master of the 9th order of the Great Late Realm. Is it okay? As a grand family of the 3 major families, there is not even a top master. I really don't know how the Wang family mixed with the 3 major families. Yuanjie also thought that Xiaonan's cultivation seemed to have reached the 9th order of the Great Late Realm, so he contacted the other party. It's just that Xiaonan's tone is not very good, and he seems to be still angry, and it took a long time to calm the other party's emotions. So, the Wheel Tomb side prison doppelganger successfully took over Xiaonan's guard work, and she returned to Sharingan through the time-space passage. As soon as he came back, he didn't give Yusuking a good look. Susa saw the 2 girlfriends who were comparable to a family in the past, and she didn't know when the relationship broke down. She had a headache. So, Susa secretly found Xiaonan at night and took the initiative to talk to her. Xiaonan, I don't think you really need to throw your face to Su Qing, right? Xiaonan smiled contemptuously. What, Su Qing? Her name is Yuanjie. Her relationship with my brother Yuanjie should not have been together. Susu was speechless. People are the descendants of the 12 guardian god families of the Yuan family, and if you really talk about the relationship, they are also a pair of doors. The Yuan family began to intermarry with the 12 guardian families a long time ago, saying that they were guardian families, but they were actually treated as brothers. Xiaonan thought that his former brother and fiancée was a woman of the Yi family, and he was even more angry. After her brother's death, the Yi family woman disappeared, and even the funeral scene did not appear. I later heard that 10,000 years after her brother's death, the woman ran to have a baby with another man. She fears that this scene will be repeated in 100,000 years. No matter what her origin is, I don't want her to be with my brother anyway. Susa sighed. She didn't know what to say. I feel that Xiaonan's hatred of Yusuking is a little strange, and I don't know where it came from. It stands to reason that the relationship between the two should be quite good. After all, they are good sisters who have been getting along for 5 years, and Xiaonan is still Yusuking who personally unsealed the seal, so that she can reappear in the world, and she can be regarded as her benefactor. There's no reason to collapse so fast. She shook her head helplessly and left Xiaonan's dormitory. In 3 days, the Tianyuan army, academy, and family gathered a total of 56 masters of the top level of the Great Evening Realm. They lined up in front of the imperial study, waiting for Emperor Yuan's release. Xiaoji, I think it might be better to let them cultivate in the otherworldly castle over there. Yuanjie had been to the otherworldly castle in recent times, and he found that it was indeed better than the Shenwei space. There is no flow of spiritual power in the Shenwei space, and in the otherworldly castle, It actually contains rich spiritual power, and the quality of spiritual power is even higher than that of this world. He nodded, agreeing with her. Then can you tell me the coordinates of the otherworldly castle? Yuanjie looked into her eyes and said. Yes, Yusuking readily agreed. Last time she said goodbye. And later learned that Yuanjie was looking for her crazy at that time, and her heart was full of sweetness. He cares about me, but she would never do such a stupid thing again. She didn't want him to bother and leave him for a minute. Thinking of this, Yuanjie pulled out a black magic staff from the void and swiped it into the air, and a spatial crack immediately appeared in front of everyone. Let's go in with me. The 56 top powerhouses did not hesitate, and then took turns stepping into the spatial crack together. The first thing Yuanjie did when he arrived at the otherworldly castle was to secretly plant a mark, and in the future, he could teleport in through the time-space channel anytime and anywhere. Yu Menghen took the initiative to ask Ying to stay and take care of them. Yuanjie naturally had no opinion, and then he and Yi Suking left the otherworldly castle. I believe that in the near future, our Sharingan will become the only country in this world. Yuanjie stood on a high place and said unusually boldly. Chapter 258. On the fifth day when the masters entered the otherworldly space breakthrough, Shang Shuling and Hong Shiling came again. This time, they came towards marriage. Emperor Yuan, since you are invincible to the world, let's see, is it time to consider your life's events? In their opinion, what Black Duck country declared war, what import and export trade, what Sharingan rose, none of them were as important as the Yuan emperor starting a family. They really regarded themselves as people of the Sharingan dynasty, so all they thought about was the Yuan emperor. Some people say that before a man starts a family, he is always just a child, mentally, in some ways, immature. The most obvious is a sense of responsibility. Emperor Yuan was still young, and they were worried that one day he would find it boring and suddenly stop doing it. Or, on the day that the laws of heaven were repaired, the Yuan emperor soared, but did not leave a son and a daughter. So did the good Sharingan die like this? They didn't want to see Yuan die as the second king, so they risked a big deal to see him. To their surprise, after Yuanjie thought deeply for a while, he nodded and agreed. So smoothly, the two old men had no chance to say the words that they had been preparing for several days. Okay, the time for this emperor to marry his wife is set for the 25th of next month. Chang Xinming silently noted down the time, and when he went back, he had to find a Taoist priest to calculate whether it was a good day. Lu Yongyan looked at Chang Xinming, and saw that the other party squeezed his eyes towards him. He was speechless. Why did he open his mouth again? I don't know which concubine Emperor Yuan wants to marry. How about the birthday 8 characters? Yi Suking, Yuanjie replied very firmly, and then wrote out the birthday 8 characters of the two in their previous lives and handed them over. The two old ministers got up and retreated, and they were still stunned when they went out, and all this seemed to go a little too far. Still, it's a good thing after all. After getting Emperor Yuan's exact answer, the two old men hurriedly went back to work on Emperor Yuan's wedding. They strictly followed the requirements of the Yuan emperor. Everything was simple, and only the leaders of various departments were invited, and other minor officials, even foreign countries, were not invited. After they went back, they quickly asked the Taoist priest to calculate what the day of March 25th was, and whether the birthdays of Emperor Yuan and the concubine conflicted. The reply was that on March 25th, the black clouds pressed the sun and the stars fell on the dawn, and there was a fear of accidents, and it was not recommended to hold a wedding on this day. However, the birthday 8 characters of Emperor Yuan and concubine Yi are indeed quite suitable, belonging to the golden and jade good relationship, but the process may not be smooth and have a slight twist and turn. The two old ministers hurriedly informed Emperor Yuan of this fortune-telling result. Yuanjie muttered, "Is there a slight twist?" There are indeed twists and turns. Two people who truly love each other, separated from each other in one life, and renew their marriage in another world. This is not a little bit of a thing, but a very bumpy situation, right? However, he insisted on holding the wedding on March 25th, because this day was the wedding date of his and Yi Suking in his previous life. The two old ministers couldn't resist him, and there was no way, so they had to do so. They silently prayed in their hearts that nothing would happen that day. The upgrade to the level discount package of the Phaseless Realm is finally online, and it was actually delayed for a week. No phase level discount package, with a discount price of 500,000 gold spirit coins. Today's Yuanjie no longer has any concept of money. He is the king of a country, How can he still be as short of money as before? Bite. Congratulations to the host for obtaining props, optional reincarnation eye skill treasure box X1, optional illusion treasure chest X1, large, cultivation experience potion 1000 bottles, 200 golden fragments, 200 purple fragments, 200 blue fragments. The content of this gift package is actually similar to the content of the Great Evening Realm level gift package. The difference is that the Great Evening Realm sent the optional leapfrog divine skill treasure chest, while the phaseless realm directly sent the optional reincarnation eye skill treasure box, but there was one less, self-selected divine skill treasure box. Moreover, the great cultivation experience potion was enough to give 1000 bottles. You must know that only 100 bottles will be sent in the late afternoon. If it is about value, it must be that the optional reincarnation eye skill treasure chest is much more valuable. After all, it can only be synthesized by 1000 golden fragments. Yuanjie immediately drank the potion condensed from 1000 bottles of cultivation experience potion into one bottle, and the aura in his body was climbing rapidly, and he soon upgraded his third order cultivation. Coupled with the punch of the grandfather before, it hit the god nest sun god passively, and it was too much. As soon as he was promoted to the phaseless realm, he directly upgraded his 2-order cultivation, plus the 3rd order of the cultivation experience potion, and now he is already the 5th order of the phaseless realm, and has successfully surpassed Yasuking's phaseless realm 3rd order. Become the strongest of the younger generation of this era. Self-selected illusion treasure chest. Yuanjie chose to learn Mirror Flower Water Moon, Kagami Shui ULV1, create an exact doppelganger like your opponent, including body size, strength, skills, etc. It takes 5000 spiritual power to release. This move can perfectly replicate the other party's cultivation and create a doppelganger, but there are restrictions, and you can only copy your own body cultivation as a person below. After learning, he found that this skill could actually be strengthened, and Brother G was in tears. How long has it been since I learned skills that I could reinforce? Well, it doesn't seem to be long. The last, self-selected reincarnation eye god skill treasure chest, the god nest sun god he learned can be strengthened, but it is strengthened the same as not strengthened, and there is no difference at all. I don't know if the system thinks that he is very rich now, and with 200 gold spirit coins once strengthened, he clicked 100 times to successfully strengthen the full level. Although it only cost 20,000 gold spirit coins, Brother G was disgusted. This dog system, really not human. Kagami Shui ULV10, create a doppelganger exactly like the opponent, including body size, strength, skills, etc., and can inherit 150% of the opponent's strength. The effect of strengthening the full level is very satisfying to release 10,000 spiritual power. Inheriting 70% to inheriting 150% of the strength can be said to be a qualitative improvement. Moreover, the spiritual power consumption of this skill is not based on percentages, but a fixed value. Only 10,000 spiritual power? Now Brother G's total spiritual power is worth as much as 1 million, is it better than 10,000 Kakashi combined? Unfortunately, this skill can only take effect once, otherwise, he has no limit to summon a water body that is even more bullish than the opponent, so what else? The other party's water was all sucked dry by him. As for the self-selected reincarnation eye skill treasure box, Yuanjie chose to learn the reincarnation innate art. I don't know why, but there is a faint voice telling myself that I must learn this skill. Since Tianyuan's 56 Great Night Realm top-level powerhouses entered the otherworldly castle to cultivate, there have been people out one after another. In the end, after 2 weeks, 45 of the 56 top powerhouses successfully promoted to the phaseless realm. The rest, unfortunately, went crazy and failed. The consequence of failure is either to drop a big realm, directly from the Great Evening Realm to the Fusion Realm. Either the meridians are completely shattered and become a wasted person. On the way to cultivation, there must be endless danger. How can there be smooth sailing? Chapter 259. There were 3 people who became wasted, 2 teachers of the academy, and a general. They were really miserable, and they originally thought that they could break through the shackles of heaven and earth in one fell swoop, but they didn't expect that in the end, they would be invisible from everyone ever since. The others looked at them with complicated eyes, and had to do their best to comfort them. Fortunately, the 2 teachers could see it, and they forced a smile and said, "It's okay, although I am not cultivating now, my knowledge is still deeply engraved in my mind. I will sum up the mistakes of this cultivation, and let my students not follow my old path. Many people were in order, and the general who became a wasted person, Yuanjie, arranged for him to enter the military department. In any case, the battlefield experience is there, and can make a good instructor. Let's talk about the people Yuanjie knows. They are promoted to the phaseless realm. Li Qing was the first to get out of the gate, and what he awakened seemed a little strange, not a skill, but a piece of equipment. Pearlescent gauntlet. Yuanjie was stunned. This looked familiar, but he couldn't think of anything for a while. The Earth God King, who originally had less than 100 years of lifespan left, successfully broke through the phaseless realm this time, rejuvenated again, and successfully extended his life for 300 years. The Moon Dance God was promoted to the phaseless realm and learned a special skill. I saw her holding her sword, seemingly standing still, but all the objects in front of her split in two. Yuanjie frowned. You release it again. This time, he wanted to open the Sharingan eye to slow her down and carefully see this trick. When the Moon Dance God released again, I saw her figure flash forward in an extremely strange form, and then return to the same place with her sword. Not good. It's Sakura robbery. Yuanjie recognized this trick. As a 10-year veteran of DNF, it is all too familiar. The magic skill of killing the volcano boss. As for the Taiyan God, there is an extra flying elf next to him, and I don't know what the effect is. The realm of the wind God has not yet cultivated to the top of the great evening realm, so this collective breakthrough does not have his share. Xiaonan promoted to the phaseless realm and awakened a special skill that can turn any item into white paper out of thin air, and automatically enchant the detonation rune on it. This is a bit strong. It doesn't cost money, you only need to spend spiritual power, and you can successfully turn a sea into 6,000 detonation charms. She was too sensible, too diligent and thrifty, and I cried to death. As soon as Xiaonan came out of the customs, he showed off his skills to Brother Ji. Brother, look, I saw her empty finger, dotting stones into paper. Bang! I blanch. The sudden explosion startled Brother Ji. I saw that a small mountain turned into an explosive charm, and a violent explosion occurred. He tugged at the corners of his mouth. Xiaonan, I think you are suitable to go to the demolition team. Ho ho ho. Xiaonan hid her mouth and snickered. She was really satisfied with a special skill. Yuanjie asked all the powerhouses who had advanced to the phaseless realm to gather on the square. Your efforts have allowed our Yuan Yuan's strength to climb a big step. Next, it's time for Yuan Yuan to dominate the world. Wind. 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 The generals flushed and shouted with extreme excitement. And the academy and the strong of the family were also infected by this atmosphere, and they also shouted with tearing their throats. 3 days later, the whole army is ready to go to the Black Duck country. Sharingan will win. Emperor Yuan, Wangu. I don't know where the generals came up with this slogan, and shouted in unison. Ling Yuanjie was speechless for a while. Unexpectedly, Xiaonan, who was standing beside him, also shouted with a red face. You're messing around, aren't you? Yuanjie died of embarrassment. Hee hee. Xiaonan put her arm around him and laughed. 3 days passed quickly. In addition to the Black Duck country, the Great Bear country and the Flying Eagle country are also paying close attention to Yuan Yuan's movements. Country Lord, I didn't expect that Yuan Yuan was just a big one, but he was actually a bastard. You see that the Black Duck country has provoked and attacked for so long, and they only resist and resist. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country also smiled. Duke Ross, I think what you said is very reasonable. In that case, then we Flying Eagle will no longer stand idly by and declare war. The eyes of the rulers of the 4 major families lit up. They had been waiting for this declaration of war for too long. In this world, the fastest way to make money is always war. Moreover, the world has been peaceful for tens of thousands of years, there has been no world war, and the domestic production capacity of the Flying Eagle country has actually overflowed. They desperately need a campaign to consume capacity. Isn't the time now? On the afternoon of the day that Yuan Yuan gathered his troops, the Flying Eagle country officially declared war on the Yuan Yuan dynasty and joined the alliance formed with the Black Duck country. On the other hand, the Lord of the Great Bear country was quite hesitant. He was calculating, in the end, he was good to join the alliance and fight Yuan Yuan with the Black Duck country and the Flying Eagle country? Or wait until the 3 sides lose both, and then go up to the fishermen to gain? The combat power of the Great Bear country is actually not as strong as that of the Flying Eagle country, only as strong as the Black Duck country. But geographically, the Great Bear country is the closest to Sharingan. Once they join a battle, That Sharingan will definitely give up the distance and come to trouble them first. Lord of the country, I think it's better to take a look before talking. The Great Bear Country Lord nodded thoughtfully. He was too cautious. On Tianyuan's side, he soon received the decision of the Flying Eagle Kingdom to declare war on Tianyuan, but the people had worried thoughts. What's going on? Why did the Black Duck Country and the Flying Eagle Country declare war on us at the same time? Have we ever fought? I don't know if I can fight or not. I heard that Emperor Yuan took the initiative to provoke them. What do you mean? As soon as he took office, he caused trouble everywhere, and if I want to say, it is better to conspire with each other. What are you talking about? They haven't started to fight. One by one they are singing down there. Why do you think you can fight? Please tell me the basis for the fight. The two countries combined have more than 500 Great Night Realms, although we have more than 800 Great Late Realms, but they are not screwed on the same rope. It is difficult for me to see the hope of victory, Alice. Whether you can fight or not, the other side will throw a few nuclear bombs first, and only our group of civilians will be injured. Don't say so much. We have to believe in the imperial court, and the reason why Emperor Yuan did this must have been considered by him. Yuanjie ignored the comments of the people. He felt that there was no reference value. Only after the real victory is more effective than all words. Sure enough, in the middle of the night, the Flying Eagle Country launched 10 nuclear bombs towards Sharingan, the capital of Sharingan. The sky is dark and high, and the people of the entire Sharingan dynasty are in a beautiful dream. At this time, the military intelligence service suddenly sounded the alarm. Marshal, we have detected that 10 nuclear bombs are crossing the Sharingan realm, and the bombing direction is most likely Sharingan. Marshal Li was completely sleepless. He immediately got up and flew to the sky. He saw from a distance that there were 10 points of light flickering, and their speed was extremely fast, and he believed that in half a minute, he would reach Sharingan. Tianyuan's radar system has only been developed for a few years, and it is difficult to detect enemy attacks in the first place. At this moment, Marshal Li never saw the 10 points of light again. He flew over curiously, but there was no one. Strange, where did it fly? Isn't there Ghoul here with us? Marshal Li touched his head, and his nervous mood suddenly relaxed. A minute later, over the 10 major cities of the Great Bear Country, a palpitating mushroom cloud was created. Chapter 260. The Lord of the Great Bear Country was called out overnight, and his face was very bad. What for? Don't you see what time it is? The reporter's subordinates were as anxious as ants on a hot pot. Lord, it's not good. We have 10 cities bombed. What bombing? The Great Bear Country Lord said listlessly. It should be Tianyuan next door. Don't they fire cannons every day these days? I didn't see how heavy the casualties were. Generally speaking, the population of border cities is not dense, so for the Great Bear Country, it is acceptable. It's not a small cannon, it's a nuclear bomb. What? Nuclear bomb? The Lord of the Great Bear Country is a stirring spirit. He's awake. The world's nuclear bombs are not only powerful, but most importantly, the radiation left behind after the bombing can affect the genes of generations for generations. For the affected people, it will be difficult for future generations to awaken to advanced physique. In this world, genius is the most precious asset, except for the mediocre conspiracy peak of the previous dynasty. Other countries hold the geniuses above SS level in the palm of their hands, worried that they will be broken. However, I don't know if it is a problem of genetic defects in the race, and the proportion of young people in other regions who awaken to advanced physique has always been inferior to Tianyuan. Because of this, the Black Duck Country will forcibly rob the Tianyuan people's daughter, in an attempt to bring back mixed blood to improve genes. The Lord of the Great Bear Country listened to his subordinates report which city had been attacked, and every time he heard the name of a city, he trembled. Damn the Sharingan dynasty. Don't talk about martial virtue. Use that weapon, he said hatefully, gritting his teeth. The subordinate hesitated for a while, and then said, Country Lord, I don't feel like it was launched by Tianyuan. No, who else will they have? His subordinates said reasonably. National Lord, this is the trajectory map of the missile night attack. Looking at the direction of action, it should have been launched from the northeast direction, but Sharingan is below our south. Big Bear Country was stunned. He snatched the trajectory map and looked at it carefully. Northeast direction. Isn't it the territory of the Flying Eagle Country? How can it be? The subordinate continued, the Lord of the country, According to the witnesses at the scene, the explosion is extremely powerful, and judging from the current scientific and technological strength of the Yuan dynasty, it is simply impossible to do it. The Great Bear Country Lord frowned, and he said dissatisfiedly, "How can you be sure that Yuan has no hidden strength?" In fact, he also felt very strange, but his heart kept hinting that he could not have done it in that country. You immediately arrange personnel to investigate the explosion site. There must be clues. No, you must also check the surroundings. Received, Lord. The Great Bear Country Lord had a gloomy face. No matter who did it, he would not spare the other party lightly. The nuclear bomb, the ultimate killer, was signed thousands of years ago. Whoever takes the initiative to start a nuclear war is a sinner of this world. Their Great Bear Country also has nuclear bombs, and if they don't have the ultimate weapon, they can't become the four great powers. Early the next morning, people all over the world knew. The tragedy of the nuclear bomb attack on the Great Bear Country has spread on the internet. The people of the Sharingan dynasty couldn't help but pat their chests and rejoiced. Fortunately, it was not us who bombed, otherwise, we could only stay with Duke Joe forever. Yes, back to the last nuclear explosion, it was 8,000 years ago. Now that time has flown by, the level of technology of nuclear bombs is increasing day by day, and it must be even more tragic than 8,000 years ago. Silence for the victims of the Great Bear Country. On the other side, the people of the Flying Eagle Country were collectively stunned. Didn't we shoot in the direction of Tianyuan? How did it fly to the Great Bear Country? The Lord of the Flying Eagle Country came to the army to verify the possibility of this launch error. Scientists say there can be no deviations. Even if there is a deviation, it is a deviation of several kilometers, and there is no reason to deviate from the distance of nearly 10 million miles from the preset target. The Lord of the Flying Eagle Country looked solemn, and he asked uncertainly, could it be that the 10 nuclear bombs of the Great Bear Country were not launched by us, and the ones we launched were intercepted by Yuan, and then they shot them at the Great Bear Country in an attempt to frame them? The scientist opened his mouth and said weakly, the result of the missile system feedback is that it has exploded successfully. Everyone, since the explosion was successful, then the hypothesis of the Lord of the Country does not hold. Could it be that there are supermasters who lead missiles north? When someone first raised this doubt, the scientist immediately refuted with a red face, impossible. When pigs fly, our system is set up with anti-interception. As soon as a person or object approaches, we immediately receive the information and then choose whether to detonate it in advance. If the course deviates, the system corrects it in time, ensuring a precise strike on the target. Even if they have a master who can stop the first one, they will definitely not have time to take care of the second one. Besides, do you think that the powerhouse of the Alpha level, Great Evening Realm, is invincible? Can you ignore all thermal weapons? Impossible. Nuclear bombs are the ultimate killer designed to deal with them. After hearing the scientist's explanation, everyone also felt that it was impossible for anyone to do it, not even the strongest Alpha-level powerhouse in their homeland. The main reason why a nuclear bomb scares everyone is that it can destroy everything. The explosive power of a nuclear bomb is impossible for even skin-specific mutants to resist. There is no end under the nuclear bomb. This sentence is really not bragging. Since this is not either, that is not either, the high level of the Flying Eagle Country left the military office directly after discussing without reaching a conclusion. The people of the Great Bear Country fell into panic. 10 cities, each with hundreds of millions of people, lost so many lives in one night. This is the National Tribulation Day of the Great Bear Country, and everyone's hearts are full of grief. Civil demonstrations demanded that the Lord of the Country immediately investigate the cause of the attack. The Lord of the Great Bear Country was under great pressure during this time, and he couldn't sleep at night without thinking about tea and food. When he returned home, he found a large crowd crowding his door, demanding an explanation. Everyone, don't worry, please believe in the Federation, the results will be available soon. Some people shouted at the top of their voices, if you find out which country attacked it, will you blow it up? That's for sure. We, the people of the Great Bear Country, must not sacrifice in vain. The Lord of the Great Bear Country gave everyone a dose of reassurance. Finally, at 11 o'clock that night, after a carpet search in the Great Bear Country, a suspicious residue was found. Because the temperature at the center of the explosion was too high, everything burned to ashes, so they followed a flight trajectory all the way to investigate. The Emperor did not pay off, mobilized 1 billion troops, and finally reaped something. The residue is the shell of the missile's two-stage variable thrust engine. Soon, this exhibit was sent to the palace of the Great Bear Country. When the Lord of the Great Bear Country saw the sign on the shell, he was stunned. Chapter 261. No, it can't be the Flying Eagle Country, right? Everyone in the hall was silent, although they had imagined it before, but when the truth came, they were still a little unbelievable. They couldn't figure out why the Flying Eagle Country wanted to attack the Great Bear Country. Did the Flying Eagle Country just declare war on Tianyuan? So, they thought of a possibility. Could it be that Tianyuan's superpowerhouse deliberately threw the nuclear bomb over? Others nodded one after another, and it was indeed possible. However, someone immediately retorted, I'm afraid you don't underestimate technology, right? Not to mention that the scientific and technological strength far exceeds that of our Flying Eagle Country. Our super missiles can only be intercepted, not consigned. As long as it is affected by external forces and deviates from the course, it will immediately blow itself up. Think about it with your brains. How powerful is it to hold a nuclear bomb hostage and throw it into a house across tens of thousands of miles? Everyone closed their mouths one after another, and they looked at the Lord of the Country, waiting for the next instructions. The Lord of the Great Bear Country is weighing which decision is in his favor. First of all, silence is impossible to be silent, and the mood of the people is high, and unpredictable consequences may occur one day later. Then, if the nuclear bomb is returned to the original owner of the Flying Eagle Country, it means that the two countries have officially started a big war. However, the Great Bear Country and the Flying Eagle Country did not have a deep hatred, and the two were as far away as an ocean. At present, the Great Bear Country only has a grudge with Sharingan, and it is a generational grudge, and there has been a national hatred and family feud since the early days of the founding of the People's Republic. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Great Bear Country was actually an area ruled by the Celestial Empire, not even a vassal state, and directly belonged to the territory of the Celestial Empire. Later, the Celestial Empire declined and was unable to govern its vast territory, giving Caesar the opportunity to rise. After successfully starting its own business, the Great Bear Country constantly invaded the territory of neighboring countries, burned, killed and looted, and did all kinds of evil. It was precisely because of the last emperor's imperial conquest at that time that the crusade against the Great Bear Country would accelerate the fall of the Celestial Empire. After that, it was the rise of the Great Xia dynasty. At the beginning of the Great Xia dynasty, they fought harder against the Great Bear Country, leaving them decadent for a long time. But as the emperor of the Yuanjie became increasingly depressed and addicted to fun, the Great Bear Country developed silently and caught up. Today's Big Bear is actually much more powerful than Yuan in terms of military, scientific and technological strength. The previous dynasty did not attach importance to science and technology and economic development at all, and it was the family that silently insisted on it. How can a family of tens of millions of people alone be able to catch up with a country of others? So much so that many of the thermal weapons left over from the previous dynasty were bought with money and imported from the Flying Eagle Country. On the other side, Sharingan routinely made an early dynasty, and Yuanjie raised doubts. I recently found out that many of our missiles, as well as fighters, tanks and submarines are imported. What is going on? Shang Shuling Changsan Ming said helplessly. Back to Emperor Yuan, our scientific and technological strength is not enough. In order to maintain the deterrent power of a big country, we can only buy it from the Flying Eagle Country at a high price. Yuanjie frowned. Why is the scientific and technological strength inferior to the Flying Eagle Country? What kind of joke? Our 100 billion people in Yuan are not comparable to the 10 billion population of the Flying Eagle Country? Can't find 1 out of 100 people who can play football. At this time, an official of the Huangfu family stood up and said, back to Emperor Yuan. It has always been our Huangfu family that has been developing, and we have never received any help from the imperial court and the people. Emperor Wangyun forgave sins. He quickly stood up and explained, for fear that Emperor Yuan would blame him. In fact, he thought about it a lot. Yuanjie had investigated before, but he didn't expect it to be so outrageous. Many ministers in the court did not realize the importance of science and technology, but as a Yuanjie who crossed over from the postmodern era, he knew it very well. If the Flying Eagle Country is allowed to continue to develop science and technology, at that time, the so-called cultivators may not be able to stop their thermal weapons. One day, future generations will understand the significance of his establishment of Guozijian. Yuanjie suddenly thought of something, and he quickly ordered, Quick, concentrate all the imported weapons in the country and no man's land. In addition to firearms, all other heavy weapons belt systems are stored in one place. Although the ministers could not understand Yuanjie's operation, they quickly arranged things. Sure enough, on the way to carry heavy weapons, an explosion occurred. Fortunately, it was far from the crowded place, but the lives of a small number of soldiers were still sacrificed. After Yuanjie learned about this, he slapped the table angrily. Then, he immediately gathered a full 20 phaseless realms, gathered a powerful force, and opened the time-space passage and flew straight to the territory of the Flying Eagle country. Emperor Yuan, Li Qing was puzzled, why he suddenly summoned so many strong people to invade the Flying Eagle country. They flew the Eagle country, remotely controlled the heavy weapons sold to and self-detonated, and the soldiers of Yuan died. Marshal Li and General Flying Tiger knew about this, and they came faster than anyone. When he arrived at the border of the Flying Eagle country, Yuanjie observed with his white eyes that the perimeter was covered with a protective shield of electricity, just like when Wakanda resisted Thanos' army. Yuanjie sneered, and in an instant, Susanoo succeeded in merging. The reaction is pretty fast, but is it useful? As soon as the words fell, the golden giant drew his bow and shot an arrow, and an Indra arrow bombarded the protective shield. Unexpectedly, there were only cracks similar to the shape of glass, and they were not completely broken. Yo, it's pretty hard, so what about another knife? Yuanjie controlled Susanoo and slashed it with a sword. This time, the top defensive array that the Flying Eagle country was proud of broke in response and disappeared into bits of stars. Enemy attack. The Flying Eagle country urgently launched the preparatory plan. They never expected that the defensive array that they had thought was solid would actually only carry the golden giant with 2 attacks. God, what is his cultivation? One person can overthrow this defensive array that can withstand the bombardment of 1,000 nuclear bombs. Since the 300 mutants are still on the way, only the soldiers can go first. Dozens of missiles flew in from all directions, targeting the 22 phaseless realm masters of Tianyuan. These missiles, to be honest, are more than enough to hit the Big Night realm, but it is a pity that they are facing a group of phaseless realms. Yuanjie opened the world of law, and the cold Kaguya appeared behind him. Kaguya left his sight and took the initiative to fly towards the missile. She turned on 15 Huanquan Hirasaka with an expressionless face, and the missile flew in with a whoosh. But in the next second, the missile flew out of a black pixel door and rushed straight towards their heads. What fuck? What is this? The soldiers of the Flying Eagle Nation screamed and scattered in all directions to flee. Boom! How can a human leg run past a stray bullet? Raging fires were lit all over the Flying Eagle country. Chapter 262. After Yuanjie was upgraded to the Phaseless Realm, his Fashiyong Heaven and Earth Kaguya Heim's strength would also increase. It turned out that at most 2 Huanquan Birayasaka could be opened at the same time, and after the Phaseless Realm, it was actually able to release more than a dozen portals, which could be described as a qualitative improvement. And the distance of transmission has been greatly enhanced. After receiving Yuanji's signal, Kaguya threw the remaining dozen missiles towards the border city. The people of the Flying Eagle country still don't know what happened, and suddenly several missiles exploded towards their homes, and they would not feel that these missiles were actually their own. At this moment, suddenly a red pillar of light shot towards Yasuking. Seeing that it was about to bombard, with her fragile body, she could not resist this attack at all. Heavenly hand power, Yuanjie did not hesitate to switch his and her positions. A red beam of light shot at him. Although it didn't hurt him, he really felt a burning sensation. If you hadn't turned on the immortal art in 6 Deo modes, maybe it would have been really cold. It's a pity that there are no ifs, only the result remains. Yuanjie raised his head, opened his white eyes in coercion, and blocked the attack of the red pillar of light, and he flew straight down against a pillar of light. This scene, the soldiers of the Flying Eagle country look stupid. Oh my god, what kind of monster is this? None of their proud secret weapons could hurt him in the slightest. And that's not all, he is also trying to fight the impact of the laser head-on and fly towards them. Silver wheel reincarnation explosion, the Deo Jade behind him spun rapidly in front of him, forming an incomparably powerful tornado, destroying this laser weapon with a cost of up to trillion billion into slag. Then, he flew Thunder God back behind Yasuking and shouted loudly at everyone. Scatter and kill with all your might. One does not stay. Don't even let go of a chicken. Obey Emperor Yuan's instructions. The powerhouses of the Phaseless Realm behind him shouted in unison, turning into streams of light and looking for their targets. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country always pays attention to the battle on the border, and he secretly dives in the live broadcast room of the Huangfu house. Because this time, it was not the Huangfu Chu's sister who carried the camera to live broadcast, but another faceless powerhouse of the Huangfu family. Grasping first-hand battlefield consultation is the mission of the Huangfu family. At first, Yuanjie didn't expect them to be so complaining, just forget about coming to war, and carried the camera, almost didn't die laughing. However, Yuanjie did not dissuade him, but arranged a wheel-tomb-side prison doppelganger to protect the other party at all times. This battle is time for the people of Yuan to take a good look. National pride, start burning today. So handsome. Yuan Emperor. I didn't expect Emperor Yuan to be so powerful that even that mysterious laser weapon could withstand it. Did any of you notice the woman next to Emperor Yuan? She just swiped the void with a magic staff, and countless unjust souls crawled out of the ground, and this army of necromancers really made the other side desperate. Well played, Emperor Yuan. Well played, Senior Sister Yuanjie. Well played, Dean Li. Well played, Moon Dance God. You are the pride of our desolate Six-Dao Academy. Come on Yuan Wang. Come on Tian Yuan. Get those little eagles down. The barrage was full of cheering and shouting, and the Lord of the Flying Eagle country was upset when he saw it, and simply closed the barrage. At the same time, he saw that the combat power of Yuanjie and the others was so fierce, and he couldn't help but tighten his heart. I hope those 300 mutants can beat them down. An hour later, Yuanjie and the others destroyed the cities on the border of the Flying Eagle country to the ground, and the people of the Flying Eagle country were killed and injured countless times. Since you dare to provoke us Sharingan, then feel despair. Yuanjie stared coldly, and all the 12 Dao-seeking jades behind him converged in his hand, and finally formed a huge ball of light shining gold. The golden ball of light continued to expand, extend, and then was held high by Yuanjie. Golden wheel, reincarnation explosion. Yuanjie's indifferent hand-held golden pillar of light split horizontally, and more than 30 large and small city buildings in the same straight line were destroyed in a moment. Fortunately, Langsing is round, and if while the territory of the Flying Eagle country is in the same plane, it is estimated that it will be swept away in one move. You know, this trick golden wheel rebirth explosion can split the moon in half. At the same time, astronomers in other countries were shocked to find that a vast and magnificent global aura around the blue star was truncated by life, and a very obvious fault appeared in the sky, similar to Saturn's rings. Near the fault, floating extraterrestrial meteorites spread in all directions. Miracle. Absolutely miraculous. What an astronomical wonder that will never happen in a lifetime. I can't imagine that one day, I can actually see such a magical scene. Nature is really infinitely created. Oh, how do I feel sabotage? Do you know you're dreaming? Man-made sabotage? Who can be so powerful? At the same time, Li Tiansha, under the leadership of his teacher, was trying out outside the region. Suddenly, a bright and blind golden light flashed, and the scene in front of him changed. Countless extraterrestrial meteorites were destroyed, revealing a passage to aliens in front of them. Li Tiansha's soul seemed to be hit hard, and she looked at the bottomless passage obsessively, and at a glance, the sky outside was so brilliant. There seems to be a voice calling me to pass. Thinking of this, she clenched her fists. This feeling was not wrong. This should be the only chance in her life to truly awaken. She said to Xiaonan next to her, Sister Nan, I'll go out first. Xiaonan asked worriedly, where are you going? Li Tiansha smiled and said, I'm not far from where I went, and I'll be back soon. Seeing her such a determined appearance, Xiaonan was difficult to stop, and she instructed, okay, you be careful, it's dangerous outside. Then she took out a dozen blank pieces of paper from her arms and handed them to the other party. These white papers should be able to protect you. After Li Tiansha left for a while, Xiaonan's heart was faintly uneasy, and he always felt that Li Tiansha went out to fight alone. This time was different from usual. She anxiously followed, but never found a shallow figure again. Have you seen Li Tiansha? She approached the lead teacher and asked. The teacher was confused for a moment. Huh? Isn't Asana-san killing monsters with you? She knew that the woman in front of her, who could turn into white paper anytime and anywhere with paper flowers on her head, was much more powerful than her, so she was very relieved to let Li Tiansha follow the other party. Broken, Xiaonan stomped his foot in a hurry. On her body, A blank piece of paper was separated, turned into 1,000 paper cranes, and flew in all directions, looking for Li Tiansha's traces together. And at this moment, suddenly there was an exclamation in the distance. "Classmate Li Tiansha, don't go near there." When Xiaonan followed over, he happened to see Li Tiansha being sucked into the black hole. She hurriedly flew up, but was bounced back by an invisible repulsion. She covered her mouth, 2 lines of tears flowed, and she couldn't stop trembling. "Brother, I'm sorry." Chapter 263. The Flying Eagle country Yuanjie and the others had already cleared the peripheral cities, and at this time, 300 mutants finally arrived. They came by plane. Many of them did not reach the alpha level. They were the vanguard, they were the appetizer. Just as they were about to skydive, they were blinded by a dazzling golden light. Subsequently, 5 airplanes crashed, and a third of the mutants went to sea gone before they could see who the enemy was. Fuck, what kind of monster is this? How is it so huge? Some mutants were stunned. They looked at the 2,000-meter tall golden giant in front of them, and even forgot to breathe. How does this fight? Take the head? That's right, they are indeed not ordinary people, but noble mutants, but due to their low strength and talent garbage, most of the awakened abilities are bells and whistles. What 2 hands separated, remote control to hit someone, what grows spikes like a hedgehog, poking people by surprise, what bone spurs grow at the joints of 2 fingers, but they do not have the healing power of Uncle Wolf. It's all a bunch of smelly fish and rotten shrimp, and a little stronger, it's the mind that controls the object. But mind control, Brother G will too. Moreover, his cultivation level is 2 great realms ahead of the other party. Who controls whom? Yuanjie felt that he was driving Susanoo, afraid to frighten the children, so he turned it off and flew straight to more than 100 mutants. "Stop your tyrannical behavior, do you know what you're doing?" Someone angrily pointed at Yuanjie and shouted. Yuanjie felt funny, and he shrugged. "You should talk about it. What bad thing have I done? You slaughter innocent people. Inhumane. You are the devil. When you die, you will definitely go to hell. Innocent? Then your Flying Eagle country launched a nuclear bomb toward Sharingan, and the people of Sharingan were also very innocent. Why didn't you accuse it?" The man was so stunned that he didn't know how to answer. Yuanjie sneered. Xiao Timo shouted humanitarian slogans to pretend to be the virgin. "Besides, when did you see me attacking the people?" Another Flying Eagle country mutant blushed and said, "Look at the ruins, how many are lying inside, aren't you doing this?" Yuanjie spread his hands. "I'm sorry, I just wanted to destroy the building, I didn't think about killing people, it was just a mistake." Who told them not to run? Shameless. It's so shameless. The mutants of the Flying Eagle country are almost mad. Percent at percent. Yuanjie narrowed his eyes. "Although I don't understand well, I feel that you are scolding me." A mutant who could speak Yuan stood up and scolded. "Just scold you, what's wrong, Sabi? Slut. Dog stuff. You'll go to hell." Yuanjie laughed. This laughter confused everyone in the Flying Eagle country. After laughing, Yuanjie clapped his palms and praised, "Good scolding, can you scold 2 more sentences? I love to listen." In his ears, this barking was simply incompetent rage, and he liked to watch the desperate struggle of the enemy. The man was stunned. "Why aren't you angry?" "Angry? Scold." Yuanjie's reincarnation eye suddenly shone brightly, and Subzhi Yuan activated it. In an instant, the 119 mutants in front of him turned into stone statues, still maintaining the appearance of horror before their deaths. Genji opened Susanoo again, and the golden Bigfoot smashed the 119 stone statues in front of him. What adult would be angry with a child? The corners of Yuanjie's mouth were disdainful, and Susanoo spread his wings and continued to fly forward. On the other side, Li Qing was besieged by more than 30 mutants. The mutant people crossed the sea with 8 immortals, each showing their powers, and fought for a long time, but there was no trace left on Li Qing's body. Li Qing said impatiently, "Have you monkeys played enough? In that case, it's my turn." Divine Dragon Swing Tail. He soared into the air and kicked the person in front of him, and the person slammed into the rear, shattering his teammates one by one. If the damage numbers are displayed, you can see that all of them are critical damage. Pearlescent Gauntlet, terrifying. The Moon Dance God was also surrounded by more than a dozen mutants. She didn't talk nonsense to the other party, and directly flashed a cherry blossom robbery, gorgeously collecting the knife. A dozen or so people stood in place dumbfounded, as if they had been fixed. The moon dance god walked forward leisurely, but behind, the dozen or so flying eagle mutants fell to the ground with their heads separated. Not a single drop of blood came out. The lord of the Flying Eagle country followed the footage of the Huangfu family, watching the destruction of one city after another, and the deaths of mutants one after another, and his heart ached. He silently closed the live broadcast room. He called the heads of the 4 major families separately, asking them not to hide and lock up, and let out any masters. However, there was silence on the other end of the phone. Before declaring war, they shouted quite loudly one by one, and when the other side really fought and saw the strong strength of the other party, they spared words like gold. How? You guys don't want to go? We said yes. Lord, we thought about it, do we want to discuss peace? On the other end of the phone, there was a voice of swallowing. The lord of the Flying Eagle country cursed, "Fuck, surrender now, what do the people think of us? What they think is their business, we can't fight with Yuan and lose both. The lord of the Flying Eagle country is angry to death, this group of dog thieves, not in their position, do not seek their government, to put it lightly. If he really raises the white flag and surrenders, the election in half a year will be ironclad, and even the group behind him will be smeared together. However, what say does his little lord have to say? What else is left of him besides being able to control a group of mortal soldiers? The high-level mutant is all firmly held in the hands of the 4 major families, and he is just a puppet standing in front of the stage. The entire policy operation of the Flying Eagle country is established around the core interests of the 4 major families. They were even more exaggerated than the previous dynasty, when at least one academic school competed with them. And in the Flying Eagle country, the 4 ancient families are the only ones who speak to them. That's probably what makes them special. When the attack approached the middle of the Flying Eagle country, Yuanjie called everyone back. Go back, come back later. It's 5:30, everyone leaves work. The masters are speechless. What about this war, brother, and the reason to get off work? Yuanjie saw that everyone was puzzled, and then patiently explained, I said that today Mingjin has collected troops, tomorrow. Send the Sharingan army over and accept, although it is attacked today, if you do not send troops to guard here, it is equivalent to fighting for nothing. And at this moment, Yuanjie suddenly received a call from Xianan. Woohoo, brother, Shallow's sister is gone. What? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264. Yuanjie hung up the phone in a panic, and after Flying Thunder God left, he felt that it was not good to leave like this, so he came back. Su Qing, Shallow is missing, I'm going to find her, huh? Yi Suking's face turned pale, she didn't expect that something would happen after Li Tiansha left Yuanjie. Her heart was more worried than anyone else, she was really afraid, if Li Tiansha had a good villain, then how should she get along with him later? At the beginning, she just wanted the other party to take the initiative to give up, and did not want to harm people. What's more, to frame Li Tiansha, this is even more impossible. People are not grass and trees, she still remembers that on the night she came to this world, Li Tian, who was still thin at that time, knocked on the door timidly and begged for a bowl of rice. Yi Suking felt that this little girl was very pitiful, so he gave her a bowl of white rice. Li Tian kept bowing and thanking him with a shallow wet body, and then at the door, he sat down and gobbled up the rice with his hands. Within a minute, she finished a full bowl of rice, she walked to the rain, cleaned the bowl with rootless water, and returned it to Yi Suking. Thank you big sister, you are such a good person. After saying these words, the weak Li Tiansha limped away. Yi Suking saw that it was not a taste, and felt that this little girl was too pitiful and had compassion. On a rainy night, bean-sized raindrops hit the glass hard, making her turn over and unable to sleep. Yi Suking put on her coat, opened the villa door, and under the faint street lamp, she saw a thin figure shivering in the corner. She held up her umbrella, walked over, and gently pushed the other party. The other party did not respond, shaking even more. Yi Suking probed her body with her hand, and was immediately surprised. It's so hot, shouldn't she have a fever? Without hesitation, she dropped her umbrella and braved the downpour to drag Xiaosha home. She was only 13 years old at the time, barely able to keep food and clothing, and her body was thin, and it took a lot of effort to drag the 8-year-old girl home. After returning home, Yi Suking helped Li Tiansha boil warm water, helped her wipe her body, and changed her clothes. She saw that this little beauty was full of scars, and her heart was unbearable, full of distress. Soaking in the warm hot water, Li Tiansha woke up, and she saw the kind big sister at first sight. She stood up reflexively and wanted to bow, but found herself leaning over at this time, and shyly sat back again. In the future, you will follow our sister and brother, and don't go to wander. After the young Li Tiansha heard this, her eyes involuntarily turned red, and she choked up. Really? Big sister? Yi Suking smiled gently. In the future, we will be a family. Do I have a home? Yes, we are a family. If there is a chance to put down roots, who wants to wander aimlessly like a dandelion floating in the wind? At that time, the lives of the two siblings of Yuanjie were also very difficult, and now there is another person, and the life is even more difficult. During the day, the two siblings went to school, and Li Tiansha went to the street to pick up garbage and sell it to subsidize the family. After school, the two siblings went to the mountains, rivers, and forests to hunt and pick fruits to eat, and sell the excess to sell. Although the days are still very difficult, Li Tiansha is very happy, because she finally has a home. She is not alone. The three of them worked together for a long time, and finally this family became better and better. It's just that the relationship is good, still so poor, or even poorer. Because Li Tiansha has been wandering for a long time, she has accumulated a lot of dark diseases, and from time to time she has to be sent to a small clinic to see a doctor, and every time, she refuses to go to the doctor, feeling that it is a waste of money. Yi Suking had a cold face, but her tone was very gentle. Well, listen to my sister, you must raise your body, you are our family and we will not abandon you. Li Tiansha immediately lowered her head, not frightened, but moved, and her eyes often had tears in her eyes. At this point, Li Tiansha began to run every day, and he couldn't even run half a lap. Until he was 18 years old, he could already run 300 laps. She runs for nothing else, just to make her physical fitness better, not to always get sick and waste this small family's money. Time flies, and soon, three thin children grow up with each other's support. Both girls are beautiful girls who have become beautiful girls, and the long suffering has not made them give up their desire for a better life. In the 7th year that Li Tiansha came to this family, the turning point came. No one expected that Yi Suking would awaken his SSS-level physique and receive a bonus issued by the national government, which was enough to have 100 gold spirit coins. He was also admitted to the #1 Liudeo Academy. That night, the three of them went to the hotel to rub a meal, which was the first time in their lives. The three of them lay together on the playground grass not far from the door, looking up at the starry sky. Yuanjie shouted into the sky, "In the future, I will also awaken the SSS-level physique. I will protect my sister and Shallow, for the rest of my life." Yi Suking pushed him with a smile. "You dream less, SSS-level physique is not so easy to awaken." Yuanjie pouted unconvinced. "HMPH, how do you know that I won't be like you? What if, in the future, I am better than you?" Li Tiansha also blushed and echoed, "Sister and brother, I also want it. I also want SSS-level physique. You've been protecting me for so long. In the future, let me Li Tiansha guard this family." Yuanjie took the hands of the two women, put them in the palm of his hand, and said with a smile, "Sister, Shallow, you go to protect this world, I will protect you." The three teenagers chatted about their hopes for the future under the stars, gradually falling asleep in their own dreams. However, I don't know when all this began to change. Maybe it was from Yuanjie of that world, or maybe it was from Yi Suking who gradually discovered that his brother looked more and more like his fiancée in his previous life. Changed, everything changed. Li Tiansha was no longer the little girl who loved to laugh, and began to be silent. Yuanjie was no longer the big sister who knew her heart, and began to be cold and frosty. When Yi Suking returned home from her freshman year, she was shocked to find that her brother looked like that person, and she had a selfish heart. "Even if I can't be with him in this life, I don't want to see him with other women." Therefore, she saw that the relationship between Yuanjie and Li Tiansha became closer and closer, and began to intentionally or unintentionally let Li Tiansha want him. Just simply put on a face, and did not do anything excessive. Later, she sent the spirit object Mulan to protect the two, saying that it was protection, rather than surveillance, And once she found that the two had exceeded the behavior, she would immediately come to stop them. Does Yusuke hate Li Tiansha? Don't hate, of course not hate, have been a family for 10 years, and not a smelly stone in the pit. How can there be such a stone heart? On the contrary, she genuinely liked this sensible little girl, just like she did back then. Does she regret taking her in? There were regrets, but only once. Chapter 265. Then why did she deliberately target Li Tiansha? It's all damn possessiveness. In her previous life, in her 30 years, she was educated that she had always lived and flown together, and loved only one person in her life. In this deep-rooted thinking, how can you let her accept the practice of 3 wives and 4 concubines? People are selfish. Is it wrong for Yusuke to hold Yuanjie firmly in the palm of his hand for the sake of future happiness? Everyone is feeling sorry for Li Tiansha, but who has understood Yusuke? Life is not a film and television drama, nor is it is impossible to figure it out at the beginning. Those who have just traveled to ancient times and willingly become concubines, or generously watch their husbands marry other women, and even take the initiative to find a lover for their husbands, such women are either juniors in reality or have no brains. Yusuke is different from that kind of person. She is an independent modern woman. She wants to fight for her life once. She has liked the girl named Li Tiansha since she was a child, and she really regards the other party as a family, but the premise of this family is not to rob her man. She just thinks of Asa as her own sister, not that kind of sister. That's why she tried to use her actions to hint that Li Tiansha took the initiative to leave him, but she never did any excessive violence. Otherwise, with her talent skills, it would be easy to kill an F-rank Li Tiansha in seconds and banish the corpse to the void. Why do you want to do this kind of mentally retarded behavior that shows affection? What Yusuke cares about most is Yuanjie, and she doesn't want to see him sad. At the same time, she also has feelings for Li Tiansha, and taking in a kitten and puppy can raise feelings, let alone a person. Yuanjie understood her, so he didn't blame her excessively, but felt that she was wronged because of her greed. Li Tiansha actually didn't hate her. She had always sincerely treated Yuanjie as a relative, but she just didn't understand it. That's why she didn't say a word every time, and when Yuanjie comforted her in the past, she also took the initiative to say good things for Yusuke, asking him not to blame the other party. But now, Li Tiansha is missing. Yusuke was very guilty. She thought it was all her fault. If she hadn't deliberately shown affection in front of Li Tiansha, maybe the other party wouldn't have left sadly. In case the other party has a 3 long and 2 short, even if Yuanjie does not blame her, her heart will not be able to care for the rest of her life. So, she raised her head and looked at Yuanjie stunned and said, "I'll go with you." Yuanjie was stunned, and after seeing the other party's expression, he nodded silently. Yusuke cut a void crack. She knew where Li Tiansha was trying, and she had arranged for Keqing to visit the other party. Before Yuanjie left, he opened the passage of time and space, and Bian Yuan and the other powerhouses left first. The two came to the outside of the region. The scenery here is extremely beautiful. Not only the sky is full of auroras, but not far away, you can see the extraterrestrial meteorites flashing. The teacher who led the team immediately discovered the figures of Yuanjie and the two, and she quickly stepped forward to salute. See Emperor Yuan. Although Yuanjie used to be her student, now the identities of the two are different. And in the hearts of the people of Sharingan, Yuanjie, the Emperor, has done a really good job, and he recognizes him in his heart. Yuanjie nodded silently. He felt that the flying thunder god engraved on Li Tiansha's body was nearby, and that direction was the black hole not far away. Yuanjie opened the 6 modes and approached, and Yusuke's spiritual power transformed into a pair of black wings behind him and followed behind. Alien space. She was stunned. She didn't expect that there was actually a naturally formed alien space here. If Li Tiansha entered it, he might get lost in the void and never find his way home. Until the end of life. She suddenly became nervous, grabbing Yuanjie's small hand with slight force. Yuanjie felt the fear in her heart, gently patted the back of her hand with his hand, and comforted, "Don't worry, Shallow is fine. I can sense that her current situation is okay. You're waiting here for me to come back." After speaking, Yuanjie flew up and tried to rush over. Unexpectedly, he was pushed away by a powerful repulsion and fell back heavily. Zyuoji, Emperor Yuan. Everyone looked at him nervously. He just patted the dust on his body, and then his right eye flashed purple, and the next second he used the power of heavenly hands to break through the repulsion and came to the outside of the black hole. His figure was suddenly absorbed and disappeared in front of everyone. Yisuking was stunned, but soon she was relieved. She knew very well that Yuanjie's strength was even stronger than her, and he would be fine. Yuanjie's eyes suddenly flashed with a strong light, and soon, he came to another world. The environment here is very barren, all plateau loess. He descended on the mountainside of an extinct volcano, and from a distance, thousands of people disappeared. Yuanjie pulled his throat and shouted, "Shallow, where are you, Shallow?" On the other side, Li Tiansha seemed to sense that Yuanjie was coming, and she ran to the top of the mountain with all her strength. Yuanjie was also galloping, because all the mana was imprisoned here, and they all became ordinary people. "Shallow, are you there, Brother G? I'm here, I heard your voice, Shallow." Yuanjie finally climbed to the top of the mountain and looked around, but he never saw the girl. The whole sky is a fiery red, and it is now pointed dusk. "Shallow." Yuanjie couldn't hear Li Tiansha's voice, but he could feel that the other party was beside him. "Brother J." Li Tiansha heard Yuanjie's voice getting closer and closer to him, but he couldn't see the other party's figure. Two people in different dimensions ran hard towards each other's positions. Suddenly, Yuanjie stopped abruptly. He looked back behind him. "Shallow?" Li Tiansha seemed to have sensing. She also stopped. She asked uncertainly, "Brother G, is that you?" This time, Yuanjie heard her voice, and he rushed over with joy. The two rushed in both directions, but pounced. "Great, if you're okay." Having experienced Li Tiansha's death in front of his eyes twice, he was really scared just now. He was afraid and lost her again. At the beginning, Li Tiansha said that he wanted to go away, his heart was helpless, and more was endless worry, so he would arrange for the prison doppelganger to guard her at all times. Even if he is not there, he must arrange for Xionan to take over and keep her safe. However, he didn't even get Yasuki now. Saying that he couldn't forget Li Tiansha, and he felt a little funny no matter how he said it. Yuanjie's hand lifted up and reached over. Li Tiansha sensed something, and she was doing the same action. Missed. However, two people in different times and spaces could not hug each other. It is obviously in front of you, but you can't see it and you can't touch it. Yuanjie's eyes, like this sky, darkened. "I liked the scene of your name, so I wrote it." Chapter 266. It's dark. Li Tian looked at the setting sun in the distance. "Shallow." Li Tiansha turned his head suddenly, but saw Yuanjie's figure, and she rushed over excitedly and threw herself into his arms. During this time away from him, she really missed him and thought about it all the time. It's only been a few days apart, and I don't know why. It's like two people haven't been together for several lifetimes. "I miss you so much." Yuanjie was stunned. He didn't expect that this kind of words would actually come out of the mouth of Li Tiansha, who had always been shy. His hand holding her tightened slightly, and he said softly, "I miss you too. Congratulations to you and Sister Yai. They are getting married. Aren't you jealous?" Yuanjie was stunned. "What's so jealous? Aren't we a family?" Yuanjie suddenly didn't know what to say. He didn't expect that Li Tiansha actually thought so. Li Tian lay shallow on his chest, greedily sniffing the good smell of his body, wanting to remember it in his heart. She murmured, "Actually, my life dream is very simple, that is, to be able to live with you for a lifetime. It is enough. I don't care who you have around you, as long as you are willing to leave me a place. It's safe here. I have a strong premonition that I've seen my birth parents, albeit just shadows. This should be what they prepared for me when they were alive. You don't have to worry about me. When I get out of here, you promised me." Yuanjie gently rubbed her hair, and then put his head on it and said softly, "What did I promise you?" At this time, Li Tiansha felt that his arms were empty, and Yuanjie disappeared, as if everything that happened just now was a dream. Real, but not captured. Because of shyness, she didn't have time to say that sentence to him after all. She touched the red rope in her wrist, which was given to her by Brother G on the day he awakened his physique. "After spending nearly 1,000 gold spirit coins, I can buy many pounds of ribs. I heard that this red rope was made of spirit beast gold and cicada silk, and then watered with the blood of 2 royal-level spirit beasts, one male and one female, to turn blood red." Although he didn't know what the meaning of this red rope was, Li Tiansha still regarded it as a treasure. She rubbed the red rope, a happy smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, and she said the unfinished sentence without thinking about herself. "Brother G, Wait until I get out of here, will you marry me? Yuanjie was forcibly teleported out by this space, and he was slightly stunned, but found that the woman in his arms had become Yisuking. Where did you just go? Worried about me to death? Yuanjie took a deep breath and held out a sentence. I saw the shallow just now. Yisuking's heart tightened, and she looked at him worriedly and asked, Shallow her, is she okay? It's okay, you don't have to worry, she's fine. I feel that it is her chance, and maybe the next time we meet, we will be able to meet a different her. It's okay, Yisuking breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Xiaonan also rushed over, and she saw Yisuking in his arms, and her eyebrows were slightly displeased. Brother, did you just go in and see Asaka? Yuanjie nodded and said, See you, she's fine, don't worry. Xiaonan frowned, and then relaxed. Go back, in a week, Su Qing's wedding will be held. Hearing this, Xiaonan, who followed behind him, suddenly changed his face. On the way back, Yuanjie kept thinking about what Li Tiansha's unfinished sentence was. After thinking about it for a long time, there was no definite answer. So, he set his eyes on Yisuking beside him. In a week, he and she will become a real legal couple. These two women, he will spend his life caring for them. After the morning of the next day, Yuanjie opened the time and space channel and teleported 300 million Sharingan soldiers to the border of the Flying Eagle country. 300 million, enough to notify the garrison, and also arranged 10 faceless generals. Such a luxurious lineup, no matter who comes, it will not work. The Tianyuan army immediately cleared the ruins in the area that had been damaged to the point of discoloration. A day and a night have passed, and the Flying Eagle country still hasn't sent troops to clean up the mess. Many corpses are exposed to the sun like this, and they do not die. In order to prevent the spread of the plague, the Tianyuan soldiers pulled the wreckage to a unified place and burned it intensively. Yuanjie really didn't deliberately kill people, but his move Golden Wheel Rebirth explosion was too strong. The building was destroyed, and the smashed debris buried many people. When the person buried in the ruins was rescued, but they did not expect that it was actually the Tianyuan soldiers, they had mixed feelings. It is the people who suffer the most from the war, and it will always be the people. In this Tianyuan attack, there was not a real casualty data counted. Probably the Flying Eagle soldiers and the mutants who came to support are dead. If the civilians are concerned, the group of Sharingan Faceless Realm did not open a killing ring. They are not like that group of people. No matter where they go, they implement the three-light policy. Many people, in fact, do not know that this area has been attacked by Tianyuan, accounting for 1/3 of the area of the Flying Eagle country. In just one day, without talking nonsense to you, 1/3 of the territory was seized. Moreover, only 23 people were sent, and it seems that they are not at full strength. The Black Duck country and the Great Bear country shut up one after another. They were terrified. Especially in the Black Duck country, the fleet that often surrounded Tianyuan's territorial waters quietly left. And the Lord of the Great Bear country did not tell the truth to the people. He issued a notice saying that the nuclear bomb was launched by Tianyuan. However, paper can't contain the fire after all, especially in front of Susai's Wind and Rain building. Feng Yulao didn't know where to get the photo, and clearly captured the 32nd generation of Caesar, the Lord of the Great Bear country, with a heavy face in front of the remains of the second stage rocket printed with the flag of the Flying Eagle country. Originally, when the announcement was first issued, the people of the Great Bear country were filled with righteous indignation, shouting at neighboring Tianyuan, and venting in the way of cursing and cursing. Shangshu of the Sharingan Ministry of Rights noticed this announcement for the first time, and immediately commented at the bottom, it seems that someone didn't tell the truth. I don't say who it is. This comment was washed away by the angry people of the Great Bear country, and then Shangshu of the Ministry of Rights arranged for his subordinates to spray with a group 36 hours a day. Dog Sharingan. Do you still want to face? The Federation has issued an announcement, and you still don't recognize it? The Federation is unlikely to lie. What about the evidence? Did you find a wreck before? What about pictures? No picture, you say only because of it? Still want a picture? You Sharingan have an old saying that if you don't know, unless you do nothing, whether you admit it or not, whether you did it or not, let it be a little counted in your heart. I hope you'll still be able to squirt at me tomorrow, otherwise, your horse is gone. For the first time in his life, the official of the Ministry of Ceremonies spoke so cheerfully, looking at the other party's anxious look, but he couldn't beat himself. It was really comfortable. And then, Other departments heard that there was such a good thing, so they also applied to join the verbal criticism controversy. The Emperor Bar went to war, and there was no grass. The netizens of Yuan all wasted the servers of this social platform and directly crashed. Chapter 267. The Wind and Rain Building waited for the people of the Great Bear Country to be a little more angry and brew again. Then on the third day after the Great Bear Country announcement was issued, a picture quietly appeared on all social platforms. The Lord of the Great Bear Country was stunned. The people of the Great Bear Country couldn't believe it, and the countries of the world were also stupid. What? What the hell is going on here? Doesn't it say that the nuclear bomb was launched by the Sharingan dynasty? How suddenly it became the Flying Eagle Country? When it was over, the Lord of the Great Bear Country saw that the situation was not good, and quickly arranged for his men to contact social platforms to delete posts. The platform is built by the Flying Eagle Country. They don't care what interests you have. They just want to make money. Nowadays, the popularity of this picture has risen to an incredible level. No platform is stopping it. Instead, he sucked blood with peace of mind and earned numbness. Besides, how do you delete it? Deleted 1. People changed their vests to continue to post, and even stole the accounts of executives of the Great Bear Country to send it. The situation suddenly changed, and the Lord of the Great Bear Country quickly stood up and explained that the picture was P. Then the Wind and Rain Building showed up a video. In the video, everyone can clearly hear the Lord of the Great Bear Country saying with a solemn expression, "This matter is not trivial, remember, don't go out loudly, let's unify the caliber, just say that the Sharingan dynasty did it, then arrange for people to form an alliance with the Flying Eagle Country and declare war on the Sharingan dynasty." As soon as this video was released, it caused an even more ferocious storm. Countless people marched in the streets, strongly demanding that Caesar step down, recognize the thief as the father, playing with right and wrong, selfish, cowardly and incompetent. One by one, people held up signs and marched through the streets. On the internet, the netizens of the Great Bear Country seemed to have put out the fire and no longer dared to speak loudly, and some people silently deleted comments. Seeing that he couldn't suppress the anger of the people, the Lord of the Great Bear Country had to come out again and explain. The videos are composite, it's all fake, don't say it, this sentence is quite effective, the people thought about it, or chose to believe him again. At this moment, many witnesses suddenly appeared, and they took out various photos to testify that what was printed on the wreckage at that time was indeed the symbol of the Flying Eagle Country. At the same time, some bloggers and experts cited a statement that it could not be Yuan in order to gain attention, so that people had to be convinced after listening to it. Feng Yulao took out the last killer weapon and displayed the remains found at that time at the border between the Great Bear Country and Sharingan. The Lord of the Great Bear Country ran to the warehouse to look for it in panic, and found a wreckage that looked similar, but there were 2 words engraved on it, Sabi, mad, I don't know when this group of Tanukis changed for princes. This time, the paper finally couldn't contain the fire, and under the pressure of public opinion, the Lord of the Great Bear Country pressed the nuclear bomb launcher with difficulty. The 103rd World War on this planet began. A total of 100 nuclear bombs were launched from the territory of the Great Bear Country, drawing a graceful curve in the air and bombing towards the middle and upper parts of the Flying Eagle Country. They already knew that Yuan had captured the border area of the Flying Eagle Country in a blitzkrieg in only half a day, and the Great Bear Country did not dare to bomb that side. Not to be outdone, the Flying Eagle Nation launched more nuclear bombs aimed at the Great Bear Country. However, the Great Bear Country did not have as many black technologies as the Flying Eagle Country, and suffered heavy losses. At the same time, Tianyuan also started. Yuanjie arranged for the remaining 26 phaseless realms to rush to the territory of the Black Duck Country. It is comparable to a nuclear bomb, no. A cultivator who is even more terrifying than a nuclear bomb has beaten the Black Duck Country to death. The 4 great powers of this world are fighting each other, and no one will submit to the other. Other small countries are shivering, praying that the nuclear bombs of these big guys will not be crooked and blow themselves up. The thief of the Flying Eagle Country was immortal, and of the more than 1,000 nuclear bombs they launched at the Great Bear Country, more than 100 were secretly aimed at Sharingan. They have already learned that most of the strong people of Yuan have gone to conquer the Black Duck Country, and the country must be empty, and this is the best time to start. But they thought too simply. Tianyuan is not only this person, even if they are gone, as long as Yuanjie is still there, no one can hurt the people of Tianyuan. More than 100 nuclear bombs flew towards Tianyuan. At this time, a woman with huge angel wings on her back flew into the air. She stretched out her right hand, and countless nuclear bombs turned into blank pieces of paper, which could not be blown up. This scene was captured by Huang Fuqiu, and she just turned on the live broadcast. Countless people of Sharingan were shocked. With such a strong person, why worry about Sharingan? The troops stationed on the border of the Flying Eagle country received the notice and attacked the central part of the Flying Eagle country. Two-line combat is so mighty and domineering. Do you think the strongest thing in this world is weapons? No, there is only one of the strongest. Whoever has the biggest fist is the truth. In just 5 days, the casualties caused by the world war numbered in the billions. Every day, countries release verified casualty figures, and everyone looks numb. War, sacrifice is inevitable. Even if it was as powerful as the Sharingan dynasty, it had lost tens of millions of soldiers. For the first time, the people of various countries who have lived in peacetime have felt the cruelty of war. No, in fact, they do not understand, they simply do not understand the horror of war. What is really scary is not this world war, how many lives have been taken. It's how many people get used to losing their lives. Yi Suking paid attention to the dynamics of the war every day, and she actually understood that in this world war, they Tianyuan more or less had a boost. And as the ruler of Sharingan, Emperor Yuan can be said to be the initiator. Yuanjie walked over, sat in front of her, and silently poured a cup of tea. Do you think I'm doing something wrong? Yi Suking shook her head and said, I don't care what others think, in my eyes, you are always right. Even if you want to be the enemy of the whole world, I will definitely stand firmly by your side. Yuanjie smiled self-deprecatingly. In fact, think about it from another angle. If there is no war this time, will the world be peaceful? No, there will always be disputes where there are people, and where there are disputes, there will be struggles, and where there are struggles, there will be casualties. Instead of that, long pain is better than short pain. I got my hands dirty and got a clean world. Only when the world is unified and the celestial empire returns to prosperity can we usher in peace in the true sense. Only when Tianyuan becomes the only hegemon in the world can our people live and work in peace and contentment. Yi Suking looked at him stunned, unable to believe that these words came out of his mouth. Do you think I've changed? Yi Suking nodded, and then blushed. You have grown up and matured, and you are no longer the little employee who is bullied. Some of the past events always make people can't stop reminiscing, or happy, or sad. Yuanjie smiled. People always have to go through hardships to grow, but the upper limit of growth depends on personal strength. Now I have the power to change this dirty world. I've become the master of this game, so why shouldn't it go the way I want it to? Chapter 268. However, what everyone did not expect was that on March 23, Tianyuan withdrew his troops. They have already hit the capital of the Black Duck country. You tell me to withdraw the troops? Is this reasonable? The soldiers of the Flying Eagle country breathed a sigh of relief. These days they have long run out of ammunition, and they are about to be unable to hold on. But fortunately, the Sharingan powerhouse retreated. They detected that Tianyuan's top 10 masters had left 5, leaving only 5. The lord of the Flying Eagle country is planning, immediately blowing the horn of the counterattack. Being pressed and beaten for so long, what morale? It has long been gone. So, on March 24, the Flying Eagle nation amassed 1 billion soldiers, carrying a large number of thermal weapons and countless missiles. They started by firing more than 1,000 nuclear bombs into the border territory. Marshal Li had not left. He saw the dense points of light in the radar, and secretly cursed a crazy sentence. If it's 100 nuclear bombs, he won't be afraid, but it's 1,000. Even he couldn't withstand so much bombardment. Marshal, what to do? Some generals anxiously said that the nuclear bomb was getting closer and closer to them. They must be crazy. This is their homeland. Do you really think that if they blow up here, the nuclear bomb will not affect them there? Nuclear bombs will cause genetic changes in human beings, become wasted from then on, and it is difficult to reproduce genius offspring, which is a difficult problem that cannot be solved at present. Call Emperor Yuan, Marshal Li shouted, so he went out to lay out the line of defense, how much he could block. Yuanjie was inspecting the Rinnegan hall at this time, and 2 days later, he would marry Yi Suking here. At this time, his private number came to the phone, and as soon as he reached his ear, he heard the other party's urgent voice. Emperor Yuan, it's not good. The Flying Eagle went crazy and fired about 1,000 nuclear bombs at our region. Yuanjie's eyes narrowed, and he immediately exchanged places with a wheel-to-imprisoned doppelganger on the border of the Flying Eagle country. Emperor Yuan, you are here. Marshal Li was pleasantly surprised. Yuanjie did not reply. He immediately flew into the air, looking at each other from a distance. The nuclear bomb is only 2,000 meters away from here. He closed his eyes, his mind moved, and summoned the Bestiao and Ajardeo stationed at the border of the Black Duck country to his side. Lord Tendeo. The two saluted respectfully. Yuanjie nodded lightly and pointed to the sky not far away. See that there is no over there, it's up to you. Okay, the cultivation of the 6 puppets is always a big realm higher than the host body, but due to the constraints of the laws of the heavenly Deo, the Bestiao and Ajardeo, which should have been the 5th order of the celestial phenomenon realm, can only exert the strength of the top level of the phaseless realm at most. Almost all the top powerhouses who have lived to the present are like this. But there are special cases. For example, his grandfather Yuanjie, because he is not a living body, he is not forcibly suppressed by the laws of heaven and can exert his due strength. There are also similar to the third ancestor of the Huangfu family, as well as Zizishuang, who are hiding in the Shenhui space, temporarily circumventing the weakening of the Dao law of heaven. And their strength is reserved. In order to be foolproof, Yuanjie summoned Zizishuang out. The purple sun of the animal road flew 500 meters away from the nuclear bomb in front, and the seal hit the ground, and a circle of strange runes appeared on the surface. Psychic Panda, a panda up to 2,000 meters high suddenly fell from the sky and stood in front of her. No, it wasn't enough. Jiang continued to expand the panda until it grew 5,000 meters before stopping. I don't know how many nuclear bombs were blocked by the panda's huge body. Bang bang bang. The people not far away heard the booming explosion, and they curiously walked out of the house and looked into the distance. However, the strong light generated by the simultaneous explosion of hundreds of nuclear bombs made ordinary humans unable to look directly at all, and many people were directly blinded. Ah! My eyes! They covered their eyes in pain and screamed. The explosion continued, and the Flying Eagle country was always paying attention to the battle situation here. When a huge panda was filmed through a drone blocking hundreds of nuclear bombs with its body, they were stunned. The most annoying thing is that this panda will also teleport and constantly hit the nuclear bomb. Their eyelids jumped, how they felt that they were playing with the lightning fighter of their childhood, and the panda was like a boss, and no blood was shed no matter how it bombed. What the hell is this? Someone holds his head and screams. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country had a calm face, but he did not expect that the powerhouses of Yuan would emerge one after another, one by one. The thermal weapons that once made them proud were like toys in front of that group of people, and they were at will. At this time, the screen of the Flying Eagle National Army suddenly snowflaked. What's going on? The drone was blown up. That's right, Ajardeo made a move. He took off his robe, lay down, and shot small missiles from his body. Although it does not reach the power of a nuclear bomb, it is more than enough to actively impact and detonate a nuclear bomb. Ha ha ha, little hawk, Ajardeo Li Wenyu laughed maniacally, and the missiles on his body kept shooting. However, because the number of nuclear bombs was too large, and they were fired from all directions, Yuanjie and Zizishuang acted separately. Absolute zero, a large area of airspace in front of Zizishuang was frozen, and nuclear bombs fell one by one. When it landed, it shattered and decomposed like ice, and did not explode. Absolute zero, not only the kinetic energy of all nuclear bombs froze, but even the systems and ammunition inside were destroyed. On the other side, Yuanjie slowly raised his right hand and said in a deep voice, Vientian heavenly introduction, all the control of the nuclear bomb flight in front of him is firmly held in his hands. Go back. Your destination is in that direction. Yuanjie's right hand gently pushed forward, and the nuclear bomb was forcibly reversed. More than 300 nuclear bombs were shooting menacingly towards the north-central part of the Flying Eagle country, even faster than when they came. Sir, the missile veered off course and flew towards us, men who monitor the data report. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country slapped over and scolded loudly, do you still have time to report here, not ready to detonate yet? What a pig you are. His men hurriedly pressed the detonation button. Boom, the command room of the military office was hit by a scorching heat wave, and everyone was pushed down by the powerful impact. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country fell so badly that he was shocked. I didn't expect the missile to fly so fast, and it only took long for it to blow up the cities in the central and northern parts. Seeing that the command room was completely destroyed, only a ruins remained. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country did not have time to check the casualties of everyone, so he picked up the box and left. This is not an ordinary box, it is very important, and it is up to him to launch nuclear bombs by remote control. The password is known only to him. After fighting for so long, there are still more than 5,000 nuclear warheads hidden in various parts of the Flying Eagle country. Care must be taken and resources must no longer be wasted. Chapter 269. The phaseless realm generals who remained on the border of the Flying Eagle country looked up at the sky in the distance in amazement. The breath of oppression is gone, which means they are safe. Since nuclear bombs were attacked from all sides, more than 100 remained unintercepted. Because it is too far away, Yuanjie is too lazy to go, and it is not necessary. He only needs to protect the people of Sharingan. As for the Flying Eagle country, it is not my race at present. The border cities of the Flying Eagle were attacked by nuclear bombs, and ironically, the launch site was their capital. This is more than 100 nuclear bombs, and the power is really not a joke with you. This explosion caused countless deaths and injuries. Originally, when the Sharingan powerhouse attacked, they basically killed the Flying Eagle soldiers, and they didn't do much to kill civilians. After such a long time of getting along, although the people of Flying Eagle rejected the Yuan soldiers stationed, they were not as fierce as before. But this time, their own country actually blew them up with their own hands. The people who survived by luck did not have a taste in their hearts. I did not expect that it was not the enemy who attacked him, but his own compatriots. How did that group of people get so ruthless? Almost all the border people were disappointed with the Federation. Originally the Flying Eagle country was a slave society, and 80% of the country's people were just humble slaves. Most of them have no sense of belonging to this Flying Eagle country because they have been oppressed for a long time. Sharingan also had slaves, and there were also strict hierarchical and noble ranks, soldiers, peasants, and commercial slaves. However, after Yuanjie ascended the throne, he abolished this discriminatory system. Tianyuan's slaves are not natives, most of them are war orphans, so the base is not large. The so-called war orphans mean that when they conquer another country, the civilians of the other side will be traded as slaves. Yuanjie did not pardon slaves, and in his opinion, this was a very normal practice. Although it is said that all men are equal, in terms of national feelings, races are also divided into nobles and destitutes. But Yuan is not like the Flying Eagle country, the noble race of the Flying Eagle. All of them are invaded by outsiders, and then the native feudal people are made slaves, which is an extremely immoral practice. The Flying Eagle country, which shouts about the supremacy of human rights all day long, secretly has done many inhumane things, only they know. Because such a bad thing happened, Tianyuan later subdued the border area and went exceptionally smoothly. By joining Tianyuan, you can get rid of your status as a slave, return to the Flying Eagle, and continue to be a cow and a horse. Presumably, people with a little normal brain know how to decide, right? This is not all, because this matter has made a big fuss in the Flying Eagle country. The people in the central and northern parts know about it. They had mixed feelings and worried whether the Federation would do the same to them in the future. Wind and Rain Lu didn't know by what means, but he actually launched a small card in the north-central part of the Flying Eagle country. It depicts the image of a two-spined newt, promising to return to Sharingan, so that he can get rid of the status of a slave pariah and become a person again. Turning it over. There is also a bloody writing on the back, which is shocking. Do you want to be slaves for the rest of your life, or do you want to use today's battle to tell our enemies, they maybe take our lives, but they will never take away our dignity and freedom? Since 80% of the population of the Flying Eagle country are slaves, such a huge group of people cannot be ignored, to be honest. Chaos. Within a day, chaos. The slave turned over as his master, overturned the slave owner's house, and shouted with hose and iron, for freedom. The Flying Eagle country is paralyzed internally, and even soldiers in the army are making trouble. Most of the soldiers killed on the front line of the Flying Eagle country were slaves, and the noble race dictated in the rear of the battlefield. There was a riot, there was chaos. That group of races that thought they were superior had eaten human blood-steamed buns for thousands of years, and finally tasted what bitterness it was today. This group of slaves, but 80% is quite exaggerated. The Lord of the Flying Eagle country hurriedly issued a proclamation to abolish slavery, and we have always yearned for freedom and democracy. But the slaves did not believe it at all, And many years ago they also promised that they could not discriminate by surname. The result? Civilians with low-ranking surnames will not be able to enter high-end places for the rest of their lives, will always be in the exploited class, and can never turn over. Even if two people of different ranks clash, the Federation does not care about 3721, and immediately puts the lower-level people on the spot. The central defense line collapsed and was washed away by a horde of angry slaves. However, the Tianyuan soldiers did not move forward to capture, but continued to stay at the border. At this moment, the slaves were so anxious that they even knelt down and begged Tianyuan to quickly liberate and save them from fire and water. The Tianyuan soldiers were stunned. It was the first time they met, and the enemy begged them to invade. As for why Tianyuan did not attack, or even withdraw his troops, there was a saying among the people of the Tianyuan dynasty that he heard that Emperor Yuan was about to marry his first concubine. Marshal Li withdrew all the masters of the phaseless realm, scattered around the world to Rinnegan, and guarded Sharingan. On the wedding day of Emperor Yuan, you must not make a mistake. March 25th, weather, sunny. Yuanjie had a sleepless night, and he couldn't sleep with a fragrant soft last night, and he was a little unused to it. At 3 a.m., he got up, walked out of the dormitory, and looked far into the northeast, where there was a river of stars that had been broken with the naked eye. What's wrong? Emperor Yuan, can't you sleep either? At this time, a female voice appeared behind him. It's Yu Menghan. Yu Menghan, as the chief makeup artist, lived in the palace as early as yesterday. Yuanjie nodded silently. Yu Menghan covered his mouth and smiled. Emperor Yuan, are you afraid of marriage? Not really, it just doesn't feel real, and I'm afraid it's a dream that will wake up someday. Yu Menghan took the initiative to approach him, and the body fragrance on her body smelled very good, which made Yuanjie's uneasy mood fade a little. Emperor Yuan, your experience with Sister Yi has made me sure that people really have past and present lives. Yuanjie was silent. He didn't know how to answer. The past life was all desolate, and only in exchange for the flowers of this life are like flowers. Yu Menghan lowered her head and muttered, it's a pity, I don't know my past life experience, and I don't know if my husband in this life found me. Yuanjie was silent, and then said, one day, your beloved will wear a golden armor holy robe and ride a colorful auspicious cloud to marry you. He couldn't help but think of the classic bridge of that movie, but unfortunately, he only guessed the beginning, but he couldn't guess the ending. Fortunately, he and Yi Suking have experienced two lives and two lives, and they still haven't forgotten each other. He and Li Tiansha are not the end of the supreme treasure and the Xixia fairy. He was not a dog, but a living person standing beside them. Since God had given him another chance, how could he let go of their hands? Yu Menghan's pupils shrank after hearing this. Is that person wearing a golden armor holy robe? In this world, aren't you the only man who can wear golden armor and holy clothes? She misunderstood. There is no journey to the west in this world. She does not know. In fact, the man in the golden armor holy robe is not just the emperor. Also, Kition Great Sage. Chapter 270. The auspicious time has arrived. In the Byakugan Imperial Palace, cannon bamboos were set off in front of the emperor's residence. Crackling, rhythmless, with a deafening sound. Since Yuanjie and Yi Suking lost their parents at a young age, they avoided a lot of red tape. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Yuanjie walked slowly to the Zhuanzhang Hall surrounded by the Manchu dynasty's civilization and martial arts. Sacrifice heaven and earth, the people of this world, although they have postmodern technology, their minds maintain ancient traditions. They believe that the Dao of heaven is the only god that rules everything on earth, and the Yuan emperor, who considers himself the son of heaven, must sacrifice to heaven and earth and pray for peace and blessings before the wedding. Since it was a procedure arranged by the Ministry of Rites, Yuanjie had no opinion. Yuanjie, dressed in a dragon robe, bowed 3 times to the nascent oriental rising sun, and then inserted incense candles on the altar. He suddenly felt an inexplicable true qi in his body being nurtured. Could it be? The second step, Ling Sun orders. Yuanjie arranged for Shongshu Ling Chang Sun Ming and Zhongshu Ling Lu Yongnian to be the envoys who executed the wedding. As the most respected prime ministers in the dynasty, the two old men did have this qualification to become the emperor's main marriage. Because the identities of Yuanjie and Yi Suking are more special, the 6 ceremonies are Natsei, King Ming, Najib, Nazheng, did not do it, just skipped. Yuanjie returned to the palace to change his wedding dress, and Yu Menghan personally made up. Yu Menghan is also dressed in a red robe today, and she is wearing a dress of her own design, noble and elegant. People who don't know the situation still think that she is today's bride. However, the wedding dress she designed for Yi Suking was better. She was very sensible and did not overwhelm her. Is this lipstick shade okay? Yu Menghan picked up a lipstick, unscrewed the bottle cap, smeared a mark on his hand, and reached over to ask. Yuanjie was slightly stunned. He glanced at it casually and nodded. Yu Menghan smiled gently, continued in front of him, leaned down, and concentrated on makeup. It was so deep that you could faintly see the roses inside. Yuanjie closed his eyes with a not very calm expression. Yu Menghan's body fragrance smelled very good, with a quiet concentration, and before he knew it, he fell asleep. I don't know how long it took. He was woken up by Yu Menghan. Emperor Yuan, it's time to get on the sedan car. Yuanjie wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Fortunately, he didn't leave. The closer he got to the good, the more hesitant he became. He was afraid all this was just a dying man's dream. Fortunately, all this happened in real life, not a dream. In his previous life, he was indeed dead. Drunk and fell to his death. He couldn't help but think of the days after Yi Suking died in his previous life. During the day, he was like a normal person, working hard. And at night, he can't sleep without drinking a few bottles of wine. As soon as you close your eyes, her voice and smile will appear. Very sweet, but very bitter. Because he could only see her in his dreams. And that night, he took the wine bottle and, as usual, came to the roof to drink. Drinking, he seemed to see her figure, and he walked over step by step. His body hit the railing and he sobered up a little. At this time, a little white cat was screaming, and she shivered astringently on the decorative strip outside the building. She did not dare to move, and the slightest mistake would fall from this 50th floor. Yuanjie had to go home and take out a garbage shovel, stretch out his hand, and signal it to jump up. Meow, the little white cat did not dare to move. Yuanjie was helpless, and he could only get it by leaning out. However, he stood unsteadily, and after drinking some alcohol, he accidentally flipped over the railing and fell straight down. In a trance, he had the little white cat in his arms. Meow, the little white cat is very cute, with a petal on the top of its head, which seems to have just arched the flower on the rooftop. She stretched out her little pink tongue and licked his face affectionately. Are you going to die with me? Meow, bang, the palanquin landed on the ground and made a sound. Yuanjie walked out of the dragon pavilion, and he let go of all his memories. And behind him, there is a peacock-topped palanquin. He looked back and saw Yi Suking standing there with a big red scarf. She also saw him under the red cloth, and her face under the scarf raised a slight smile irrepressibly. Yuanjie walked over, took her hand, and the two walked towards Han Yuan Hall in sync. Changsun Mingang wanted to stop it. He thought that it was unruly to do so. The concubine should be guided by a female official outside the main hall. How could the emperor personally hold hands and enter? However, after seeing the two working together so sweetly, he smiled with relief. Propriety? They are all young people. What rules to talk about? Today is their big day. They are happy. The two walked hand in hand to the 888-meter-long carved dragon jade step in front of the Rinnegan Hall. Yi Suking's wedding dress was very long, and several people carried it behind her. Yuanjie stood at the door of Han Yuan Hall and laughed, looking forward to it for a long time, and finally waited for today. When the two walked up the carved dragon jade steps, the ceremonial guards on both sides began to play. Suddenly, the bells and drums of the whole world sounded in unison, and the heroic and elegant instrumental music sounded. Grandpa Wang, good. Yuanjie stood with his hands in his hands and nodded with a smile. Zhongshu made Lu Yuanyan shout at the top of his voice. The wedding attendees will have two surnames together, above, the temple of the sect, the bottom, to pass on the hereafter. Therefore, the gentleman is important. Now, the palace hall is open one after another, and the dragon dance tanking asks for the phoenix. Yuanjie two surnames, tie the knot, heaven and earth. Yuanjie took Yi Suking and turned around. The two bowed to the heaven and earth outside the temple. Goodbye to the high hall again. There was only one relative of Yuanjie present, who sat upright in his seat, and couldn't stop smiling on his face. Yi Suking took the tea from the maid's hand. Supreme Emperor, please drink tea. Yuanjie said three good things with a face, and took it with a smile. After the procedure, Yi Suking returned to Yuanjie, and she looked a little nervous. Husband and wife, the two people turned their heads and looked at each other. even though Yisuking's head was still covered with a red hood, but both of them could sense each other's happy smile at the moment. Yuanjie and Yisuking each took a step back and bowed face to face. Wait a minute, at this time, a voice suddenly came in from outside the hall, interrupting the worship of the two. Princess Chang, you can't go in and disturb, let go of me. Otherwise you're welcome. Even if you kill me, I can't let you mess up this wedding, Marshal Li said with a firm gaze. Countless pieces of white paper flew out of the girl's body, pushing everyone in front of her away. She flew to the Rinnegan hall and said with a cold face, I don't agree with this marriage. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271. Yuanjie slowly stood up. He was angry, and said in a very cold tone, Grandma Non, don't make trouble, go back, you shut up. I said, I don't agree with this marriage. At this time, groups of faceless realm masters outside the hall flew into the Rinnegan hall, waiting for the battle. Stand down, Yuanjie said in a deep voice. But, Emperor Yuan, I said stand down, here no, Yuanjie was in a bad mood at the moment. Everyone saw that Emperor Yuan's face was not good, and silently retreated, leaving only Yuanjie, Yisuking, Yuanchen and Susu in the hall. Who can be in a better mood if the wedding process is interrupted? At this time, Susu spread her butterfly wings and flew in, and she came to Xionan, wanting to pull the other party back. Sister Susu, don't stop me, today, I just won't let them get married. I said it, I don't agree. Yuanjie smiled angrily. Do you marry your wife or do I marry your wife? How Laozi marries a wife still has your consent. Xionan, be obedient, go back, don't make trouble, brother. Xionan's eyes were red, and she said with tears in her eyes, do you know that how good a shallow girl was forced away by this bad woman? Now that you still want to marry her, are you worthy of Li Tiansha? Yuanjie felt that in his hand, a small hand held him tightly. He lowered his head and saw Yisuking under the red cloth with dull eyes, biting his lower lip. He gently patted the back of her hand as a sign of comfort. Xionan continued angrily, Yuanjie, do you know your identity? What qualifies you to be my brother's wife? My brother and Li Tiansha met first, and they also established a relationship one step ahead of you, but what about you? How do you do it? You, a latecomer, have occupied his feelings and body, and you still rightfully demand a lifetime and a couple. Do you want to face latecomers? These three words stung Yisuking's heart. No matter in which life, she was a latecomer. In the previous life, if Li Tiansha had not been smashed to death by a falling object, Yuanjie's wife in that life should have been her. However, there are no ifs. She had pursued him legitimately and even legitimately. What was wrong with her? There is no saying that love comes first, and it is better to come early than to come by chance. And in this life, she is not a latecomer at all. She came to this world 10 years ago, and without her help, that Li Tiansha would have starved to death and froze to death on the streets. She just found out later. Is this also considered a latecomer? Yisuking trembled, and her eyes shed tears. She doesn't understand. Why doesn't anyone understand her? In addition to Yuanjie, but now, the once best girlfriend has turned against him for outsiders. Yuanjie took her into his arms and said sharply, Xionan, don't say it. Nope. I'm going to say. Yuanjie, do you think the whole world is targeting you? No, you are wrong. It is your behavior that makes those around you angry. Do you think that Li Tiansha snatched my brother? But have you ever thought that if you hadn't deliberately hidden it, how could there be so many things behind? You are the one who robs people. Xionan said more and more vigorously, people who should have disappeared in their past lives should have lost their memories in their past lives, and the remnants of their past lives are just them, and you are also kind enough to be cheeky to compete for favors. You have the ability, you bring him back to your original world, to realize your unrealistic ideals. Yisuking's shoulders trembled, her right hand was tightly clenched, and her nails even dug into her flesh. Do you think she doesn't want to go back? Do you think she wants to stay in this other world? If she had the opportunity to go back to Earth, she would rather give up all the divine power in her body, what SSS-level talent, what imperial spirit body, what immortality? To hell with it. She would rather be a simple mortal, as long as she can be with Yuanjie. Standing with me at dusk, asking me about porridge and warmth, turning out the lights with me, sharing my book for half my life, accompanying me late at night, sharing wine with me, wiping my lovesick tears, accompanying me Guzinchen, listening to my heartfelt feelings, and solving my dreams. But I can't go back, I can't go back, I can't go back. The thought of this brought tears to her eyes. Recently, she also had the idea of compromising with the world, but this is her only remaining dignity. She didn't understand, her dream was simple, she only wanted to live a lifetime with Yuanjie, but why did everyone see her as a monster? In the face of this cruel world, she is really powerless to resist, she is tired. Yuanjie lifted her red hood and helped her wipe her tears. But the tears couldn't be stopped. Yi Suking sobbed, and she raised her head and looked at Yuanjie stunnedly. Do you hate me? Yuanjie was stunned. Why should I hate you? It's too late for me to love you. Hate me for not letting you have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Hate me for not accepting Li Tiansha? Hate me for being vexatious. Yuanjie was dumb. He knew that she couldn't accept a marriage system here for a while. It was a normal reaction of a modern woman. However, there are some things that she doesn't want to do, and she can't get her wish if she doesn't want to. Even if Yuanjie promised her, this world would not let her go. One day, her psychological defense will be washed out, she will not be able to hold on, and she will collapse. Seeing her lover's silence at the moment, Yi Suking's heart became more and more panicked. You know what? My biggest fear is to leave you. You are the only man I have ever loved in my 2 lifetimes. In my previous life, you took away all my firsts, and in this life, everything I have belongs to you, but I beg you, really, I don't leave you again, and you don't leave me alone either. As long as you promised me, whatever you let me do, I will depend on you. Yuanjie looked moved. Why wasn't he? Yi Suking is an indelible cinnabar mole in his heart. 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes. A woman who is impossible to forget. In his heart, Li Tiansha in his previous life was not as important as she was because he had no follow-up, starting from emotions. Well, I promise you, unless I die, I won't leave you alone. Yi Suking's lips blocked his words, and then bit his lower lip fiercely. I forbid you to say such things. If I want to die, I should die first. With tears in his eyes, Yuanjie said softly, if you want to die, let's die together, I won't let you be alone. Xiaonan looked at the 2 of them in the air, and he was very depressed. Yi Suking looked at her stubbornly and said coldly, Yuanjie, don't think I don't know what your thoughts are, you are the most selfish person, if it is not me standing here today, but Li Tiansha. You will still stand up and stop this wedding, people like you, according to my original world, our sick petite, today I will do as you wish, I will not marry this marriage. Yi Suking pulled off the red scarf and looked directly at Xiaonan fiercely. Yuanjie was shocked. Why didn't Li get married? Yi Suking turned her head to look at him, raised her chin and said, I'll wait for Li Tiansha to come back, let's be together. Brother Jay's eyes widened, and he looked at her in disbelief. Xiaonan's chest rose and fell, and in the face of Yi Suking's words, she was powerless to refute it. Her right hand quietly twisted a gesture, and a paper arrow quietly appeared behind her, and when Yi Suking turned around, she shot out. The speed was too fast, and Yuanjie's divine power only stopped part of it. And at this time, a sudden floral fragrance wafted by. Yu Menghan pounced and blocked behind Yi Suking, and Yuanjie was stunned. A stream of red flowed, and she smiled at Yuanjie and fell backwards. Okay, I've written all your complaints, I'm interesting enough, right? Chapter 272. Yuanjie quickly rushed over to help Yu Menghan. He touched her neck. Fortunately, the pulse was still there. Yuanjie raised his head and looked at Xiaonan coldly. Yi Suking raised his hand and pulled out a black staff from the void. Yuanjie picked up Princess Yu Menghan and walked out of the honeymoon hall step by step. The 2 women, Yi Suking and Xiaonan, are full of gunpowder. If you want to fight out and find a place to fight, don't smash my Byakugan. The 2 women looked at each other, turned into streamers and flew out. Susu shook his head helplessly. How did things get to this point? She then followed. Yuanjie did not go over to make fun, although he was very angry, and a good wedding was ruined like this. His wish is simple, he wants to hold his grandson early, which is too difficult, right? The Manchu dynasty Wen Wu was stunned when he saw Emperor Yuan walking out covered in blood. When he saw that Emperor Yuan was holding Yu Menghan, the head of the Yu family, in his arms, his expression was even more strange. What happened inside, they don't know. But isn't the first god known to be invincible? Why is it bleeding today? After Yuanjie walked out of the palace, he said to them lightly, "Let's end here for the wedding, let's talk about it later." Chang Xinming patted his head, his face was helpless. He had long known that there would be an accident today. Therefore, he asked Marshal Li to arrange all the powerhouses of the Phaseless Realm outside the domain to come back to guard. However, day and night defense, it is difficult to prevent family thieves. Who would have thought that it was actually the eldest Princess Yuanjie who came out to destroy? What are you doing with him? After Yuanjie ordered 2 words, he entered the Shenhui space with Yuanjie in his arms. Purple Frost, with a call, a woman in white appeared in front of him. When Zizishuang saw the blood flowing from Yuanjie's back, she was slightly stunned. She remembered that at that time, with the power of her God King realm, she couldn't hurt the slightest, so why was she injured today? She saw that the other party's eyelashes were trembling slightly, and she seemed to understand something. "Come here, help her with her wide clothes." Yuanjie dropped a bunch of recovery potions given by the system. Zizishuang tugged at the corners of her mouth, and she refused. "I'm not suitable, my physique touches people, and the other party will immediately turn into a popsicle." Yuanjie was speechless. "So? Just like you, no wonder you have been single all your life. Which man dares to touch you?" Yuanjie had no choice but to come by himself. He gently placed Yuanjie on the stage. Looking at this delicate but pale face, he suddenly felt a little distressed. "Oh, why are you so stupid?" Su Qing's spirit object would naturally help her block this arrow. Zizishuang complained in her heart, "She is not stupid, but very smart. If she doesn't do this, how can she leave something in your heart?" Yuanjie wore a tight cheongsam that wrapped her perfectly curvy figure. Yuanjie was in trouble at this time. He didn't know how to get it off. Zizishuang pointed to the other party's right chest. "The button is here." Yuanjie is so helpless. Now there is no longer a woman around him who can be used. Yi Suking went to duel with Zionan, and Liu Dao was arranged elsewhere, and he didn't dare to walk away casually. It seemed that he could only do it himself. However, he suddenly remembered someone. It seems that she is a good fit. So, he picked Yuanjie up again, and at this time, she frowned and let out a painful groan, and Yuanjie had to put her down and go out of the Shenhui space by herself. Zizishuang is stupid. She has never seen such a straight man. People and women have sacrificed to this part. You can't actually see such a good opportunity? Stop pretending. Get up. Yuanjie opened her eyes and looked at Zizishuang with a smile on her face. Sure enough, Menghan can't fool Sister Shuang with anything. Zizishuang snorted coldly. "If I hadn't fought with you, I would have really been deceived by you. Hee, you have good intentions too." Yuanjie sat up with her hands propped up. Her gaze was tender. "No way, he is too emotional. If he doesn't make some sacrifices, I'm afraid he won't be able to enter his heart. But this is good. Such a man is the most worthy of entrustment for life. Even in this world, there are not many women who wish they had a large group of sisters in their home." Yuanjie ran out of Shenhui space. He wanted to find Liv. Liv opened a pharmacy, which shows that she definitely has a hand in medicine, at least better than him. However, when he arrived at Liv's small pharmacy, he found it closed. He didn't know exactly where her home was. Broken, helpless, he had to return to the Shenhui space again. "Lie down, he's back." "Oh," Yuanjie laid down straight, and the strong pain made her snort uncontrollably. "It really hurts. Is this the feeling of pain?" She has grown so big. It is the first time she has been injured, and she would never have thought that it was actually for a man. When Yuanjie ran to the room, he found that on the platform, Yuanjie was shedding more and more blood, and he couldn't hold on to it. Suddenly, he thought of something and quietly touched Zizishuang's arm. His face was a little ugly, and he said in a deep voice, "You lied to me?" Zizishuang's expression was not very natural, but she didn't expect to be discovered. Yuanjie walked out of the room with a black face and closed the door with a snap. Why can Zizishuang, who is another heavenly god, still deceive himself? This was something he never expected. "Stop pretending, get up." Yuanjie opened her eyes blankly. She didn't understand. Why would Yuanjie refuse this opportunity? Doesn't it mean that men are so astringent? Why? She couldn't help but think of the bad aspects, and her pretty face turned white. At this time, Zizishuang said, "If a man is not interested in you, even if you lie in front of him without a trace, he will not be moved." I think back then, I tried to curry favor with Yuanjie, and in the end, he didn't even look at me squarely. Yuanjie was stunned and felt a little lost. However, such a man has a sense of security, doesn't he? If it is the kind of person who loves one and can control Kunkin, she will definitely be unhappy in the rest of her life, and she must always be wary of when he will bring back a sister to herself. Zizishuang saw Yuanjie's appearance now, and couldn't help but think of the past. She silently picked up the recovery potion and helped her untie her clothes. It is worthy of being produced by the system, and the effect is really good. The wound behind Yuanjie was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and after a while, it was as good as ever. Okay. You put it on. Zizishuang patted her back and said. They are all women, and Yuanjie dressed directly in front of her generously. Then, she carefully packed the remaining recovery potion in a treasure box, treating it as a treasure. Zizishuang sighed. I understand your mood very well, but I advise you, don't be clever in the future. Maybe he didn't find it this time, or he didn't say anything when he found it, but what about next time? You know, the most unbearable thing for men is deception. Yuanjie nodded and silently remembered Zizishuang's words in her heart. Chapter 273. Yi Suking and Xiaonan flew into the sea between the Sharingan dynasty and the Black Duck country, facing each other. Xiaonan's face was really gloomy. She didn't expect that this always strong woman actually compromised. Why? Why compromise? Why don't you keep going? Yi Suking said indifferently, no why, because I love him. She experienced a parting of life and death with Yuanjie in her previous life, and when she first came to this world, she was very painful. She dreams every night, has good dreams, and more of them are nightmares. Will she worry about how he is doing over there? Without yourself, did you eat on time? If he is gone, will he be deliberately difficult at work? I hope he doesn't do stupid things, and I hope he can have another woman in the future to take good care of him instead of himself. However, everything is gone. Now 10 years later, he has also come into this world, and fortunately, he has not forgot me. He still has feelings for me. In this strange world, they are no longer humble ordinary people, but become the hegemon of one side. You don't know how happy I am to see my beloved ascend the throne. Yi Suking found that she couldn't do without him more and more, so after she solemnly told Yuanjie not to go to Li Tiansha's trouble, when she threw out her sole 3 questions, the other party was silent. She was afraid. She was afraid that because of her own death, the two would be separated again, and she didn't want all this to be caused by her own hands. She finally bowed her head, not to compromise with this damn world. It's that she cares about him, and after a parting of life and death, she doesn't want to go their separate ways again. Therefore, compared to accepting the deformed marriage system, even if she disagrees very much in her heart, as long as she can continue to stay by his side, everything seems less important. However, accepting does not mean that she can accept Yuanjie's despicable and dirty practice of finding herself a dozen sisters. Especially, this Xiaonan standing in front of her. It is absolutely impossible for her to accept. Thinking of this, Yi Suking smiled and said, Xiaonan, shouldn't you still be fantasizing? What do I fantasize about? Xiaonan frowned. Fantasize about marrying Yuanjie, a man who looks similar to your long-dead brother. Without waiting for the other party to answer, Yi Suking continued, don't forget, you are Grandpa Yuanjie's aunt, and you are related to him. For that, you should never dream of becoming his woman. Xiaonan's expression changed. She faced her heart for the first time. Did she really want to marry her brother? No. It's not. She just didn't want other women to share her brother's love for her. No matter who it is, they can't snatch Yuanjie from her. She has affection for her brother, but not between men and women, but adoration and dependence between brothers and sisters. What she wanted was simple, that her brother would always be by her side, always single. Seeing her expression at this moment, Yi Suking laughed disdainfully, sick Jiao. Yuanjie is a living person, not your toy. He has his own life. Who stipulates that he belongs only to you? Let's not say, Yuanjie is not your own brother at all. On the contrary, he is still your descendant. Even if you are his own sister, you do not have the power to restrict his future. Without speculating for more than half a sentence, Xiaonan angrily shot a paper arrow from his wings. Yi Suking swiped into the void, and a spatial crack appeared in front of her, absorbing all the paper arrows. You can't beat me. I'm a third-order cultivator of the phaseless realm, and you've just advanced. Yi Suking was very angry at Xiaonan's rash attack on himself in the Hanon Hall just now. What if it hurts Yuanjie? This is something she will never allow. So, She opened the magic world, put the white armor on her body, and then her eyes froze, and the black staff transformed into a sword. The shadow of Ato Kamisato appeared on her body, and she sighed softly. Kamisato Ryu Mizuki, here is the sea surface, the water element is extremely rich. A handle water sword fell from the sky, forming a natural barrier, resisting the attack of paper arrows, and at the same time accurately striking towards Xionan. Xionan spread his angel wings and quickly flashed a water sword. Yisuking said in a deep voice, "Do you think this is the end?" A blue-haired girl with bangs flashed on her body again. She closed her eyes and slowly lifted her sword with her right hand. The sword body gradually disintegrated inch by inch, turning into snowflakes. At first glance, it looks as if her left hand cut off the body of the sword. When her left hand pushed the hilt of the sword, suddenly the long sword transformed into a fan. Kami Ryu, frost out. Yisuking opened her eyes and waved forward with the fan in her left hand. At this time, the wind in the entire sea area was fierce, and Xionan could not stand upright. And in front of her, a chilling tornado came with ice flowers. The tornado-ravaged sea froze into ice. Xionan felt the terrifying attack power of this move, and if she was hit, she would either die or be injured. So she used all her strength to fly backwards, pointing to the void. The menacing tornado suddenly turned into pieces of paper in the sky and floated in the air. This is a skill she has awakened in the phaseless realm, which can transform everything into paper. Seeing this, Yisuking narrowed her eyes. "It seems that your ability is not bad. What about this trick? How do you pick up?" At this time, a whirlpool suddenly appeared in the sea behind Xionan, and a behemoth broke through the ice. It is an emperor-level spirit beast, and the weakest has the strength of the great evening realm. However, this is only a spirit, not a living thing. The huge sea dragon spirit body rushed towards Xionan, who calmly transformed into a shield with white paper to block this move. She did not sit still, spread her wings, and flew towards Yisuking. Before the person arrives, the blank paper arrives first. However, Yisuking stood in place, but the white paper passed through her body. Yisuking tilted her head and said contemptuously, "Don't underestimate the strength of the imperial spirit body, little girl. Xionan's body is hidden in the sky paper dents." When he was about to approach, Yisuking gently raised his right hand. Right here, she grabbed Xionan's neck, and the other party groaned in pain. Bang bang bang, Xionan quickly exploded all the pieces of paper. White papers burned into ashes floated in the air. Xionan only had half of her body left. She was panting not far away, and white papers gradually formed her body. Yisuking shook his hand and said dismissively, "My imperial spirit body is the same as your divine paper dents. The difference is that you are immune to physical damage, while I am immune to all magical damage." I said, "You can't beat me." Just now, I was one step faster and slightly injured. At the moment of the explosion, Yisuking exchanged positions with Keking, who was hidden not far away. This move is a bit like Yuanjie's wheel tomb side prison doppelganger exchange position. Xionan stretched out his hand and said word by word, "Your skills are all ghosts that cannot see the light, and in a world full of light, all wronged souls can be hidden." Suddenly, Yisuking looked down. The sea parted. Chapter 274. The entire sea area seemed to be split by a knife, and Yisuking was shocked to see that the sea water had all turned into pieces of paper. She immediately spread her black wings and tried to escape from here. Don't try to escape. Unexpectedly, countless pieces of white paper flew over and attached to her body, pressing her into it alive. Only then did Yisuking notice that the white paper of the sea was all one by one detonation charm. "Oh my god, how many detonation charms are there?" she exclaimed in horror. However, she did not panic. Her imperial spirit body was not afraid of the explosion of the detonation charm at all. Moreover, she still had a backhand. Army of the undead. With a stroke of the void, countless spirit beasts and spirit bodies ran out from the spatial crack, surrounding her at 360 degrees. "If you want to blow up my spirit object first." She couldn't transfer the spirit body, because the spirit body that was arranged outside was discovered by Xionan and was also suppressed in the center of the sea. Xionan flew in the air with an indifferent face and looked at each other. "Your spirit body, immune to magic damage, can last for up to 5 minutes, and these 600 billion detonation charms can last for 10 minutes. Want to block the blast damage with a spirit object? I'd rather see how many spirits you can summon to kill you." Boom, 600 billion detonation talismans instantly detonated, emitting a sound that shattered this piece of heaven and earth. At this time, a Saiyan figure rushed into the sea of fire. Xiaonan was shocked. She naturally recognized who this figure was. Su Qing, are you alright? Yuanjie broke through the encirclement and came to her side. I'm okay, you go first, and I'll leave it to me here. Kamui. Yuanjie included Yi Suking in the Shenhui space, and he immediately turned on Susanoo, carrying the continuous damage of the detonation charm, and rushed out. Brother, Yuanjie closed Susanoo. He shook his head and said, Xiaonan, you really passed this time. At this time, Susu arrived, and with a wave of her staff, it condensed into ice on the surface of the sea. At this point, the rumbling explosion did not come from inside. She turned around, looked at Xiaonan with complicated eyes, and said helplessly, Xiaonan, stop it. How to say, she is also your lifesaver. Without Suking, you don't know how many years you have to sleep. Xiaonan's eyes were red, and she clenched her fists. But I'm not willing, Yuanjie said calmly. What are you unwilling about? Brother, you can only belong to me. I don't want to see other women snatch you. Yuanjie smiled. It is said that 50 steps laugh 100 steps. Su Qing was indeed criticized before, but why aren't you also an extreme person? Su Qing's behavior is justified. I understand her very well, and I feel sorry for her, but what about you? I can't think of why. You have to do it to the people around me. Susa probably guessed something, but there were good sisters on both sides, and it was inconvenient for her to say. Go back, stop making trouble. Yuanjie walked over and touched her head. In the end, it is still a young girl who lacks brotherly love. Fortunately, this time it didn't make a big mistake. In the Shenhui space, Yi Suking saw Yu Menghan, who had just recovered from her injuries. Sister Menghan, are you alright? Yu Menghan's miserable white lips pursed. It's okay. Sister Suking doesn't have to worry about me. Yi Suking took her hand and sighed. Alice, you are too impulsive. In fact, she can't hurt me at all. I don't need you to stand up and block this shot for me. Then, her eyes flickered, as if she had thought of something, opened her mouth, and finally did not say it. Let me tell Xiaoji and let him let us out. Yu Menghan was stunned, and she nodded. After Yuanjie returned to the Beijing Imperial Palace, he released the two women in the Shenhui space. He rubbed his temples. Today's events gave him a bit of a headache. First Xiaonan's trouble at the wedding, and then Yi Suking begged to stay by his side. Then came the two women fighting, but fortunately he intervened to stop it. Otherwise, it is difficult to say which one is hurt. After a fight just now, and today's blow to her was a bit big, she quickly lay down on Yuanjie's bed and rested. Xiaonan sat sullenly on the gazebo, watching the sunset. Yu Menghan saw her figure, subconsciously walked over, thought about it or stopped. She felt that the past was not good at this time, and too many words would be lost. She originally thought that Yi Suking was the most difficult woman around Yuanjie, but she didn't expect that Xiaonan was the most extreme person. It seems that the women around him were not fuel-saving lamps. She couldn't help but think of that simple little girl, wondering if she was doing well now. Stand up, a shout sounded in Li Tiansha's ears, but she had no strength and lay weakly on the ground. These days, she's been ravaged here. Parents left an emotionless avatar in this secret realm, squandering themselves day and night. Every person on the planet Sherida must stimulate the potential in his body through constant fighting. How can you protect your loved ones in the future? Li Tiansha gritted his teeth, supported himself with his hands, and stood up shakily. With a last trace of strength, she opened the door of shock. Grandma Li knocked on the door. Open. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and rushed over with a shout. Unexpectedly, he was kicked and flew, and the avatar shook his head and said, Your technique is good, but it is not strong enough. Tell me, can you be stronger? Do you know that now you are like a useless waste? You are not worthy to be the descendant of planet Sherida. Li Tiansha fell so badly that she got up again. I hate people saying I'm waste. Once, I also thought that I was an F-grade physique waste. In order to stay by Brother G's side, I kept working hard and constantly surpassing my limits. I thought that was the only way to be worthy of his love. However, I chased desperately for a long time, and now I can't even see the shadow behind him. The avatar replied expressionlessly, If you think you can't do it yourself, then you really can't. Come on, beat me and prove that you're not a waste. Bring out the power you crave most and burn yourself. Break through yourself. Go above and beyond. From my hands, save him. The avatar didn't know where to find Yuanjie. He raised his hand, and Yuanjie flew into the air. Brother G, after such a long time of fighting, she couldn't tell which was the reality. Li Tiansha originally looked stunned, and when she saw the person who thought day and night appear in front of her, she was shocked. As soon as the avatar's right fist was clenched tightly, the Yuanjie in the air exploded, and red rain fell in the sky. Li Tian was stunned, and the world seemed to be quiet. Then I'll protect you later, okay? Who dares to let her go? Shallow, I have something good for you. With me here, no one wants to hurt her. Excuse me, may I kiss you? What I like is you as a person. Even if you are immortal, I still like you. To love is to see your weakness and be willing to be your armor. I don't like it when you say you're weak all day, but you're strong, but you don't know. Li Tiansha's hands collapsed weakly, and in her mind, a picture appeared of having known and falling in love with Brother G. She lowered her head, her fists clenched tightly, and her body trembled. How dare you, how dare you, how dare you, accidentally, another salute. Chapter 275. The surrounding stones are dragged by a mysterious force, constantly floating in the air. If you look down from above, you can see that the land around Li Tiansha is cracking one after another. Li Tiansha was on the verge of collapse. She had trained for so long just to be qualified to stay by his side, and she also wanted to protect him, even if her strength was humble. She was awake now and knew that it was not Brother J, it was an illusion. But neither will illusions. She couldn't see him hurt most. If anyone dares to hurt him, then he must pay. The golden light on Li Tian's shallow body shone more and more, and an extraordinary force seemed to be awakening. The corner of the incarnation's mouth standing not far away hooked. Come on, overcome me. Avenge your lover. The avatar laughed wildly. Li Tian stared at him deadly, and the aura on his body was climbing at a terrifying speed. It stands to reason that there is not much spiritual power left in her body to open the 8 gates of Yuanjie. Why can she still erupt with such a terrifying momentum? The air became scorched, blurring her figure. Yay, Li Tiansha suddenly raised his head. Suddenly, her hair turned blonde again, and unlike before, even her eyebrows turned golden, visible to the naked eye, and golden ki burned around her body. The avatar showed a surprised look. Dare to hurt Brother G, I will be the first to not let you go. Li Tiansha's figure flickered, flying up like a shooting star, and behind her, a small mountain was trampled by her. In an instant, she arrived in front of the avatar and threw a punch. The avatar dodged to the left, and he also hit with a blow. Li Tiansha blocked it with his hand. Her body was illusory, and the other party felt a sharp pain behind him. When did you fly to the back? He was shocked, and the speed was so fast that he had an afterimage. The avatar stood up and raised his hand to shoot out several red light waves. Li Tian flickered a few times, and from the third perspective, there were actually 5 or 6 of her in the sky. Suddenly, Li Tiansha came in front of him, punched him in the chin, and then put a knee on his stomach. The avatar suffered pain, and he also turned on the state, and the two were constantly teleporting and beating in the air. The speed of the punches and feet is dizzying. If Yuanjie saw it here, he would be very shocked. I'm Zhou, the teleportation speed within a kilometer is actually faster than my flying thunder god. The avatar punched over, and it was all tightly grasped by Li Tiansha's thin arm. How? Is the first stage such a powerful force? The avatar gritted his teeth and tried to break free from the other party's restraints by wrenching his wrist. But he couldn't do it anyway. It's hard to imagine that a muscular man was actually subdued by the slender Li Tiansha. Li Tian flung out his face coldly, and then threw a punch with his left hand, hitting the avatar's face firmly. The avatar spat out a mouthful of blood. Very good, it seems that you have mastered this powerful force. Next, I will teach you this trick. Look at it. He put his hands in the shape of claws, placed them at his waist, and yelled. Turtle, pie. Li Tiansha frowned. She gently raised her right hand and stretched out an index finger. Gas, work. A dazzling pillar of light shot out from the avatar's hand, wrapped in palpitating fluctuations. At the same time, a sudden flash of light on Li Tiansha's index finger appeared, and a golden pillar of light that was even more powerful than it appeared. The avatar was stunned. What is this, okay? 2 energy collisions, one white and one gold, distorted this space. The two of them play against the wave, and they always lose on the left. The avatar was submerged under the golden pillar of light, his eyes widened, and his body gradually split. The golden pillar of light shot the land through a bottomless hole. Li Tiansha knew from the moment after successfully transforming into legendary warrior that it turned out that what she contained in her body was not spiritual power at all, but cells. She is not a person of this world at all. Strictly speaking, she is not a person of this universe. Therefore, the planet's physique detection tower, there is no energy information for her at all, will judge her to be an F-level physique. Therefore, when she gradually merges the realm, she will burst out with a power that is not weaker than the 9th order of the Great Late Realm. So she's not a waste, she's just a freak. Fortunately, for so many years, she persevered. Otherwise, if her physical strength could not keep up, she would not be able to activate S cells, and there would be no chance to become a legendary warrior. Brother Jay is right. Genius is 1% talent plus 99% sweat. Li Tiansha returned to her black hair appearance, and she fell weakly from the air. Her parents' phantom flew up, hugged her, and landed slowly. They are very happy to have such a wonderful daughter. Even on their original planet, not many can transform into Super Saiyans. Before the training began, they quietly listened to Li Tiansha recounting the past, and couldn't help but burst into tears when they heard that she had suffered so much when she was a child. As a parent, who doesn't feel sorry for their children? Fortunately, she met a kind sister and a man who loved her. Our daughter's future should be very happy, right? Of course, I don't want her to repeat our suffering. This is another parallel universe, and that group of monsters can't be found. I hope so. Alice, after speaking, Li Tiansha's parents grabbed her hand, glanced at each other, and smiled into a little starlight. Li Tiansha was still asleep in this strange space, and I don't know how long he slept. All she knew was that the dream was sweet. Time flew by, and a week passed in the blink of an eye. The World War was still going on, and the Sharingan dynasty sent troops to join the battlefield. Today is Qingming Festival, and yes, there is also Qingming Festival in this world. Yuanjie took his grandfather Yuanjie and Yi Suking back to Jiangchang to worship his parents. Mom and Dad, I'm back. Who do you think I brought back? Yuanjie looked at the photos of the two people on the tombstone, who looked exactly like his parents in his previous life, and he smiled and poured a glass of white wine on the ground. One is Grandpa, you should know him, but he is a little young now, and it is normal not to know him. Yuanjie knocked on his head and said angrily, how did you speak, stinky boy? Huh? Yuanjie smiled helplessly. Why in this world, telling the truth will also be beaten? Standing beside me is my daughter-in-law, Yi Suking. Yuanjie pulled her little hand and looked at each other. Mom and Dad, you used to be my adoptive father and adoptive mother, but now you are my real parents. This glass of wine, honor you. Yi Suking raised her glass and bowed reverently to the tombstone. Yuanjie watched from behind with a smile on his face, waiting until the incense, toasting, and praying procedures were completed. He muttered while burning paper money, actually, I also have a daughter-in-law, you should know her, you will see her every year, her name is Li Tiansha, and she is not here now. Yes, we became a real family. When Yuanjie said this, he secretly glanced at Yi Suking and found that the other party did not have any expression, but smiled at him. Probably put it down. The three people went down the mountain after worshipping, and on the way, they actually met Liv. It's just that her eyes are red, and she just cried when she saw it. Liv, where's your grandma? Why didn't I come with you? Upon hearing this, Liv's tears couldn't stop falling. My grandmother, I went up to worship her. Yuanjie was stunned, and Yi Suking was stunned. It's really impermanent. I didn't expect that a year ago. Grandma Li's body was so tough, and she could accompany Yuanjie to run 3 laps, but now it is separated by heaven and man. Yi Suking walked over and hugged Liv into her arms to comfort her, but she didn't expect to cry even more sadly. My grandmother is gone, my parents are gone, and now, I'm left alone. Liv's body was shaking terribly. I don't know when she was alone, and since then she has become a real orphan. Grandma Li was a warm-hearted person when she was alive. When Yuanjie's family of 3 was still young, she would often come over with some kun eggs to replenish the 3 children. In the community, there are not many neighbors willing to help them, and Grandma Li is one of them. When others saw them living in a small villa, they thought they were rich, so they were reluctant to lend a hand. This is a normal idea. Will you still be poor living in a villa? Only Grandma Li would believe that when she walked after dinner, she often noticed that the lights in this house were not turned on, and she lit candles almost every night to get the light. And the eldest Yuanjie, reading and writing homework at night, runs to squat under the street lamp and borrows some light to study. The youngest, Li Tiansha, did not go to school at first, and every day before the sun got up, she took a few sacks to pick up garbage outside. Yuanjie, too, is gray-faced every time he comes home, with a basket behind his back, which contains all kinds of wild things. Grandma Li saw it in her eyes, so she knocked on the door one day, and when she saw the furniture inside the house, she was shocked. Without a single piece of decent furniture, a stool made of bricks and a dining table, even to sleep, I was reluctant to buy a bed, and I slept with a ball of hay on the floor. In the house, almost everything that can be sold is sold, and only people remain. It is impossible to overstate the four walls of the family. Grandma Li believed that they were really difficult, and the reason why they didn't sell the house was probably because this small villa was their parents' inheritance and contained too many memories in it. Later, from time to time, she took something small from home and gave it to her 3 children to eat. When Li was a child, she often visited the door with her, so she noticed Yuanjie, a spiritual guy. She was attracted by his good qualities of being hardworking and simple, handsome and honest. Even if life was difficult, he smiled every day, and had a crush. Grandma Li noticed her granddaughter's abnormality at that time, and later forbade her to follow. She hopes that her granddaughter will marry a rich man in the future, instead of a poor ghost like Yuanjie who has no father or mother. But how can a girl's mind be so easily worn out? Some people, falling in love is a lifetime thing. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.